You found my name in the rain on the porch. I kept it small like a pin in a glove. Your shadow leaned on the apple crate step, and the clock in the hall would not answer us. Stay a little while, stay a little near. Your breath on my cheek like a borrowed fear. Dance me slow, paper moonlace. Hold my hand in a stranger place. Hold my hand, sweet and still we could disappear. Dance me slow and leave me here. Your collar was white, but your eyes were bold. Like a key in a jar with a secret hold. I heard the boards count softly our feet, and the room grew thin as a candle leaf. Stay a little while, stay a little near. Your breath on my cheek like a borrowed fear. Dance me slow, paper moonlace. Hold my hand in a stranger place. Hold my hand, sweet and still we could disappear. Dance me slow and leave me here.
Hi, everyone. How are you? It's been forever since I've been live over here. I've missed you guys all so much. I hope everybody is doing very, very well. I just want to say really quickly, Chicken Lady, that is fantastic news. Chicken Lady says Esther had her surgery today, and the surgeons arrived very happy with how it all went. They had to move her to a horse stall, though, because she kept jumping out of the goat. The surgeons are very happy, arrived very happy. God, Jen, get it together. Are very happy with how it all went. And because they had to move her to a horse stall because she kept jumping out of the goat stalls. Well, that's because Esther is clearly an advanced troublemaker. And I'm happy that she is on the mend. That is fantastic news. All right. So, hi, everyone. I'm so glad you guys are all here. I'm really excited to talk about this tonight. Allie's here. We're waiting for Melissa. She'll probably be along any moment. But if you missed it, last night, Chasing did a fantastic reading of the documents. We're not going to do that. I'm not going to reread them to you. There are just some very specific parts that I had some questions about and did some further research into, trying to understand what all is going on. And then I shared it with the girls, Melissa and Allie. So if they have stuff they want to talk about, obviously we're going to do that. But I just wanted to give you guys an idea about what we're going to be talking about tonight, and to assure you that we are not going to, I'm not going to reread them. I think that, first of all, I think Chasing did an absolutely fantastic job of reading them in the first place. I thought she's got a great reading voice. Number one, that's the best. Number two, she did it in a very respectful way, and with concern and care, because of the type of information that was contained in these lawsuits. So if you're not familiar, Seth Rogers, through his attorney, has filed 2 federal lawsuits. One against the Sumner County Sheriff's Department and several people inside the Sumner County Sheriff's Department who have been named, Eric Craddock probably being the most notable one. Then there are some Jane and John Does because they haven't listed them yet. And then also against the Department of Children's Services in Tennessee. There are some specific people that are named and they're being individually sued as well. And then there are some John and Jane Does listed as well because they have not gotten their names yet. So that is where we are. One thing that I would like to talk about really quickly, and then I'm going to bring Allie up because she's been waiting very patiently backstage, is that what I'd like to do tonight is to keep in mind, okay, everybody keep it in their head as a given before you type something in the chat. What we're talking about tonight is the lawsuit that Seth has filed. This is Seth Rogers versus DCS and the Sumner County Sheriff's Department. Okay. It has nothing to do with Katie and Chris. There is one clip that I want to play from when Chris Proudfoot was on Web Sleuths. And the reason I want to play that is because when Chasing was reading that, the lawsuit against DCS, there was an incident of alleged physical abuse, and it is different than the spanking. And I went back to listen to this specific interview because he talks about it, number one, but also because of what he says, that even though I've watched this interview multiple times, I did not catch this. And I was wondering, if I did not catch it, is it possible that other people did not catch it as well? For instance, I thought that the reason that CPS, well, it's not CPS there, it's DCS. The reason that DCS was called in 2023 was because of the belt incident, and it was not. And I guess in all of everything, it went right over my head. But in this interview, or I guess it's an interview, we'll just call it an interview. In this interview with Chris, he's very clear about it. And that is why I wanted to play it. I don't want to, we can all have our opinions about what he admits to with spanking Sebastian with the belt. Hitting him with the belt is really a more, I think, appropriate term, and the hitting in the stomach. We all have our opinions about that. But I wanted to play that because I think that it's very, very interesting what he says. And so I wanted to play that for you guys. Let me bring Allie up and then we'll get started. Okie dokie. All right, here we go. Allie, what up, boo?
Hello. Is the demon back?
Has left.
Does it sound okay? Okay, good. Okay. And Melissa had wrote in the group chat that she will be here very soon.
Okay.
And yeah, so I'm excited to see this clip that you've pulled. It's been a long time. I know that my memory is not very good after a long period of time. I did look at the lawsuits, but not very closely, intently, just kind of grazing through and looking. And I think it's interesting. He has each individual report listed. I don't know. I think it's very interesting. But so yeah, hey, I'm here.
What? Okay. Hey, I'm here. Was there anything? Let's just start with the DCS case. See, I mainly want to talk about that case because I'm just going to say, I don't think that the case against Sumner County I don't think that's going to go anywhere. I think this is what I think is going to happen. Okay. Because I looked up what the procedure is, how this is going to go. Okay. So what happens is Seth has filed through his attorney. Okay. It will be accepted by the clerk because it was filed by an attorney. So everything is filled out correctly. All the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, the signatures are in the right place. There is a part in the filing that establishes jurisdiction. All the procedural things are right where they should be. Okay. So from there, the defendants, in this case, DCS and the sheriff's department, they get served. Then they have like 21 to 60 days to respond. And this is what the procedures say. So it says the attorney must officially serve the summons and complaint to both government entities. Because these are public agencies, service must go to the designated officials, e.g., the Tennessee Attorney General's Office for DCS and the county executive or sheriff for Sumner County. Government response and defenses, 21 to 60 days. The service process can be 1 to 3 weeks, by the way. So this is not anything we're going to hear immediately. Chasing, if and when you are ready, I will drop the link for you if you want to come up, babe, because I really want to hear your thoughts on this, because like last night you did a fantastic job reading, but then there was not, like, you didn't, I felt like that's what the purpose and intent was. And so, but I wanted to discuss it. I wanted to hear your thoughts about it. Okay. So, the government responses and defenses. Once served, government defendants rarely just file a straightforward quote unquote answer. Instead, institutional defendants almost always file a federal rule 12b-6 motion to dismiss. They will likely argue sovereign immunity. State agencies like DCS generally have broad immunity from being sued in federal court under the 11th Amendment. Qualified immunity. Individual deputies or caseworkers will argue they cannot be held personally liable unless they violated clearly established constitutional law. Failure to state a claim. They will argue that even if everything the plaintiff says is true, it does not amount to a federal constitutional violation. The judge's ruling, 2 to 6 months. Once the government files a motion to dismiss, the attorney has a window to file a response brief, and the government can file a reply. After all briefs are submitted, the Middle District of Tennessee judge will review the argument. If the motion is granted, the case or parts of it is dismissed. If the motion is denied, the case is officially accepted to move past the pleading stage, allowing the attorney to enter discovery to demand internal DCS records, emails, sheriff department logs, and depositions. So this is not anything that's going to be immediate. We're not going to hear anything immediately. So I just wanted to let you guys know kind of what the process was, because I'm not familiar with this process. I deal mainly with covering criminal
I was
cases.
thinking about that last night. I was like, Melissa is like all in the civil cases. She's doing it every day, you know what I mean, on her other off time. And then you are like all in the trials. So I have like 2 people I can go to with a lot of knowledge in both courts. But you know, I would think I'm curious about the attorney that he's got. I haven't. Have you done any research about him?
I have not, because for me personally, I guess my thought process is, this is going to sound so crude and crass coming. I don't really care. I mean, if somebody told me about it, I would listen and I would be interested, but it's not something that I would look up myself.
Oh, not me. I
I'm
feel
more,
I'm very
Yeah,
interested in that because I want to know uh, just about the history of that attorney, just because for the fact that they're signing on to this and they filed it, they obviously believe that they can get somewhere with it. And with the history of the attorneys with the injunction and how that turned out,
right,
I have a lot of curiosity about that. You know what I mean? So,
right. I this is where my hesitancy comes in. Do I think that this was filed? Oh, look, Melissa's here. Hold on, let me bring her up. Hey, MJ, what up?
me too, Remy. Exactly.
Uh-oh. Okay, she muted. Hi, Melissa. What's going on?
Hello. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
yes, you have the demon too. Allie, tell her how to fix it, babe.
Okay, go to the more button in the bottom right and click audio settings and click off of your AirPods and then back on. And like click to your iPhone mic and then back to your AirPods and it should work.
Okay.
Okay.
Did I do
Chasing
it?
says nothing really major. He doesn't have any disciplinary issues or anything like that. So that's interesting because that's one thing I would want to know. And yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think he filed this in good faith. Most attorneys file things like this in good faith.
Mhm.
Um, I to me, I think I guess maybe because I know how the people that I watch, like you and Melissa and Chasing, and I know how your brains think, and so I know that you guys most likely there's going to be somebody else looking into this attorney, and so my big like what I wanted to understand, there's some conflicting language in this filing specifically with DCS. And
Mm.
so that is where my brain went like immediately. I needed to understand, okay, first of all, I had to read it like 4 times to make sure that what I was reading correctly, that there's some conflicting language and then why? And then I wanted to understand there's a lot of technical terms in here, for example, like that Sebastian was eligible for the Title 4E candidacy program. Well, I didn't know what that was. So I had to look that up. And then this FAST 2.0 assessment that was done after he went missing. I needed to understand. I even have it pulled up, you guys, on Tennessee's the use of safety, and this is the Child Welfare Information Gateway that I'm at. The use of safety and risk assessment in child protection cases, Tennessee, and it's dated March 2021. And it talks about the FAST protocol and what it's there for, why they use it, when they use it, what is it supposed to do, and all of that. So I wanted to understand all of those things so that I could explain it to you guys, or we could talk about it together, not you guys on panel, but in the chat. But I wanted us to talk about it because there's some stuff in here that's a little bit conflicting. So that's my thoughts and my process. I think with the Sumner County one, I think that what this is really intended to do is to get past the initial phase after the defense, the respondents, I should say, file a motion to dismiss. I think that what they're really wanting is, in that case, is access to the investigation itself. I am not sure, though, because of it being an open case, how much, I mean, they will actually get. That's the part I'm interested in.
You said there's discrepancies, and I haven't had a chance to review it or watch
Okay.
Chasing's live yesterday, and
Do
I'm
not
coming in a little bit
worry.
late. So you said that there are discrepancies.
Yes, and this is what I wanted to do. Obviously, I'm not going to read the whole damn documents. Chasen did a great job, and she's got a way better voice for reading than I do. So I'm going to grab her link in a minute, and we'll put it in the chat for everybody to go watch and listen to the thing. There's one specific part that I wanted to highlight, and I'll read that part. I don't really want to like talk about the situation in California. I think it's been talked about enough, and that's not really the part that gave me pause. So that's what I thought we would do. And then because also, let me ask you this, Melissa. Were you under the impression that the reason that DCS was called to the Proudfoot home in May of 2023 was because Chris Proudfoot spanked Sebastian with a belt?
Hit him with the belt. Remember hearing. Now, to be fair, I never followed this case to like how I normally would. Normally I would be very much looking, and I specifically didn't because of everything surrounding its coverage. But I do recall, even not following it, hearing that, yes, it had something to do with spanking with a belt.
Okay. Do you know, according to this filing, that is not why CPS was there. DCS was there because of an allegation of physical abuse, but it was not with the belt. It was an incident of Christopher Proudfoot allegedly, I'm just going to say allegedly, hitting Sebastian, I think the term they use is whacking him in the stomach. Not punching him, whacking him.
Is that in addition to the other report, or are you saying this is that?
This is that report. Yes. And the thing of it is, I think the vast majority of people missed this. So what I did was I went back through a bunch of times that Christopher, I don't want to call him Chris because I don't know him like that. Excuse me. Christopher Proudfoot was on panels and talking about this specific incident. And he actually clears it up on Web Sleuths, but it still went over everybody's head.
Now, it referenced the CPS reports? Did it attach them, or is it like?
No, it is strictly, there are no documents attached.
Okay. And so they have the reports, though, that they're basing this on? They have access
My
to them?
understanding is that back in 2020, let me think about this.
It looks like they do, Melissa.
Yeah, because I'm trying to remember the dates. I want to say that I feel like it was in 2024 that Seth, through an attorney, got the DCS reports. And then there were other panels where Seth was on the panel. Sometime at one of them, the one that I remember the most was Pascal's, and they were talking about the reports, and the whole vibe or mood of the panel or the live was that Seth was going to talk about what was in those reports, but then he said he could not because he had been told by DCS he was not allowed to. He was not allowed to release those publicly.
And in the lawsuit, the reports are labeled by case number, like within DC, like it looks like the DCF case number. So that's an individual, like I'll have to pull it back up. Hold on. But
I
so
have
that
it,
makes me
Allie.
think too.
You want me to share it so you can see it, or do you want to pull it up?
Yeah. No, go ahead. And that way we can share with, and so Melissa can see it too.
So Chasing says, what do you mean it went over everybody's head? Chasing, he explains in that Web Sleuths interview that it wasn't the spanking that got the CPS called to his house.
You know what? Just a side note, this Streamlabs I think is better than StreamYard. Like when I got on, to me the camera looks way more clear. Like I don't know, it just I look a little messy,
Hey, beautiful.
but it's still, I think it's better. I like it. Hey. Not that that's important at all, but yeah, it's just something to note because if you're streaming using StreamYard, it is expensive.
Yeah,
But
so I had to ask because I was curious if it was actual reports that it was based on versus allegations that weren't substantiated yet.
Well, let me scroll up to the very top and see, because the part that I wrote it down, so I'll remember it. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, it's referred to by case ID.
Okay.
Yeah. So here's the part that I was confused by. Okay. Okay. On May 8th, let me share this. What am I even doing? Like, it's amateur hour over here. Like, today's my first day streaming.
Hi,
it's
Kelly.
all good.
All right. Okay. On May 8th, 2023, at approximately 6:30 p.m., Boswell arrived at the family home. Proudfoot granted permission to enter. Boswell met with Sebastian on the porch. Sebastian stated he remembered Boswell coming to his home last year. During this interview, Sebastian told Boswell that Proudfoot required he wore a belt every day. Sebastian stated that Proudfoot asked him to lift his shirt, and when Sebastian did not have a belt on, Proudfoot smacked him, this is a quote, smacked him in the belly with the back of his hand and said, "You know you're supposed to wear a belt." Sebastian told Boswell that he had been lying to Katie and Proudfoot about brushing his teeth and making his bed, and that he had been getting in trouble, into trouble for lying. Boswell then met with Proudfoot on the porch. Proudfoot admitted that he was cleaning Sebastian's drawers, asked Sebastian if he had a belt on, and when Sebastian pulled up his shirt and said no, Proudfoot, quote, whacked him with the back of his hand in his belly and said, "Boy, you know you're supposed to wear a belt every day." Proudfoot, I'm not going to read this next. I can't do it. You guys can see it on your screen. You see what it says. I'm not reading it. Proudfoot claimed he had, quote, never physically harmed Sebastian. Proudfoot's
Do we know who contacted CPS though in these instances or
so no? when you scroll up, it references the physical. This is the investigation. Here's the case ID. It just says that a call was placed to the DCS child abuse hotline. I think that later in the document, let me keep reading because I don't want to, it feels like it was a teacher, but I don't remember how we know that. Unless it came from Chris. All right. Boswell spoke to Katie in the kitchen. Katie stated, quote, they have been working with Sebastian on when he tells something to tell the entire story, end quote. And that, quote, Sebastian will tell bits and pieces to his story to fit his narrative, end quote. She stated she had, quote, no concerns that Mr. Proudfoot smacked Sebastian's belly with intent to hurt him. On May 9th, 2023, Boswell verified that Sebastian was receiving therapy services 3 times per week through a private therapist and medication management through mental health cooperative. On May 11th, 2023, Ritchie conducted the administrative review and concluded, quote, this case is ready for closure at this time as, quote, or brackets, no services needed. Then in other brackets, case manager has met with the family and they denied any concerns. The child reported being safe in the home. He stated the stepfather popped his belly and told him to wear a belt. The child denied any physical abuse in the home. The stepfather reported the same as the child. Ritchie noted, FAST is completed with no need for intervention. On May 11, 2023, the case was closed as no services needed. All right. This is the part that got me.
Okay.
DCS's failure to conduct a minimum. Oh my God. This is why Chasing was reading and not me. DCS's failure to conduct a minimally adequate investigation was compounded by its complete failure to involve Rogers, Sebastian's biological father, who held joint physical and legal custody of Sebastian pursuant to a court order. Despite this, DCS never notified Rogers that the investigation was underway, never interviewed him as Sebastian's other legal parent to obtain his observations regarding Proudfoot or the conditions in the Proudfoot home, and never offered to place Sebastian with him during the investigation, notwithstanding that such placement was clearly within DCS's authority and was the most obvious protective measure available.
They don't do that.
I know.
Like for any claim, like it has to be very specific circumstances for them to remove a child, especially immediately, right out of the home, pending an investigation. You can't do that. That's like saying like, hey, you're innocent until proven guilty, right? Like with anything. And so it's an allegation, and allegations are made a lot of times, and they're not necessarily founded or substantiated, and they're just that. And then there are a lot of times where there are, and that, they fall through the cracks, but they have protocol and they do their investigation. Just because it didn't fit, rise to the level that you're satisfied with, doesn't mean that they broke protocol. There's no reason to take them out of that environment at that point and say, hey, we're going to give you to the non-primary parent pending an investigation. They're not going to do that.
Right.
But you know what? Like it is so many times where there are so many times where CPS should have acted and they didn't. It's case after case after case where CPS
Absolutely.
had like, for instance, there was oh my gosh, what is her name? I just ran across it. There was this girl who her own parents reported her to CPS. I mean, there was like 20 reports. By the time they got to her baby, she had 2 babies. The infant was deceased and had been for some time. And it's like, when are they liable? Like, I'm not saying necessarily with this, but it is,
CPS, I know what you mean, Allie. CPS is not infallible. They fail.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
And they have failed a lot.
But doesn't mean that they failed in this circumstance.
And I think that's where we're at.
But I mean, I can't say how many different CPS reports are there by the end of it, and without seeing those, I can't really say if I think they failed or not. You know what I mean?
That's a great point. Was there any founded prior claims? Of go ahead.
So they reference this call as the second call. The first call was from a teacher. That's where the teacher comes in. Okay, it's all the synapses are firing at once right now. That's where the teacher comes in. Sebastian had disclosed the incident that occurred in California. And so what CPS did is they got a team together essentially and evaluated the home, interviewed Sebastian. Sebastian did not want it. That's why Sebastian was familiar with Boswell. because she'd been to his house before.
And Jason said he was approved to be removed.
I'm looking at this is the thing that I'm looking at, Chasing, and because I did not understand that. And it's also where it falls in the report. Chasing, just tell me when you want it, when you want the link, babe, and I will drop it for you, and you can come up here, and because I was curious about that as well. Okay, I'm sending it. I'm going to put it in the chat. Please only Chasing click the link. Please don't do me dirty, y'all. Hold on. How do I do this? I forgot how to do it now.
Do you want to send it to me and I can send it to her? Or do you know, like...
I sent it to you in Messenger. Will that help you?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I got it. Yeah, I'll send it to you, Chasing. Let me... Thank
you, babe. Thank you for being the go-between. Remy said the mention of foster is included. Now, I don't quite understand your question, babe. So could you elaborate a little bit more? I am not sure. And what I'm thinking is, because at the very beginning of this document, let me make sure I'm right. Let me just scroll all the way up here, because I remember reading this, but then I always gaslight myself and act like I didn't read and I don't remember correctly, even though I know that I do. But I just like to double check.
Can I just say, everybody wants to say that Seth, for one, I've seen a lot of people try to put suspicion on him, as I find it disgusting to do this to either side. So let me make that clear. But, making comments like, oh, do you know where he's at? You know where he's at, Seth? And stuff like that. Okay. So, and people are constantly bitching that he's not doing enough. He's not searching. He's not doing this. Well, here he is. And whether you agree with him or not, he is doing something. And if he knew where Sebastian was, like suing the sheriff's department, I don't know. I just think, my God, but then people have a problem with him. He can never, everything
he's never
he does,
there. Yeah. I think that exists in this case for both sets of parents, right? I think that there are going to be people who, no matter how much Katie cries, it's never going to be enough. It won't be at the appropriate time. And they will say it's not genuine because she went and got her nails done sometime.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Oh, and neat. Thank you. You are the best. The case is Kalia Toll. She's supposed to go to trial in June. If you guys have not seen that case, you have to see it. This girl was all over social media, like multiple reports to CPS. It's an insane case, and she's about to be going to trial. So save that for later. Like, put it in your mind and look it up.
Okay.
Because it's very interesting. Okay.
Welcome, Chasing.
Sure. Hello, Chasing.
Hello there.
Welcome to my channel.
Thank you.
Let me tell you what the Nuggie tells me to say to you guys all the time. Granny, remember to tell them to like and subscribe and set the notifications.
Yes.
Very important. She's 5. She's something else. How are you, babe?
Good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm good.
Hot as shit, but the AC is starting to come back on, so we'll see.
Oh, God.
I didn't even know it was off. I was going to go take a nap, and next thing
my gosh.
They're working on it. So DCS determined Sebastian, quote, had been determined to meet the criteria for participation in the Title IV-E candidacy program and is at serious or imminent risk of removal from the home.
Chasing, was that for this specific instance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because September 2022, the case identified non-custodial placement need, which the complaint argues shows DCS recognized that he might need to be placed outside of the home. And where Seth got upset is, well, if you were going to place him outside the home and you approved him for the Title IV-E candidacy program, why didn't you contact me as the non-custodial, the parent not in the home, and place him with me. But
Chasing, does that
ultimately they
include, though, an alternative, like not just placement outside of the home, but for the purposes of mental health treatment or whatever it may be? Like, is there an alternative other than, hey, we're
Mm.
just looking for alternate family member who could take them in? Like, is there something else that would fall under that?
Well, I thought until I looked up, and I said this to Jay for Justice last night. She was going over a bunch of stuff. And one of the things I said, go look up this Title 4-E candidacy.
I did.
You did.
I
See?
did.
So yeah, it's for foster care. It's for federal funds and all of this stuff that
But it allows other things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It does allow for other things, which is what made me think that potentially this is when the talks that we heard about on the various YouTube panels began about placing Sebastian somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna try to plug in this other microphone. I'm sorry.
You're fine, babe.
How many different CPS cases is referenced in this filing?
3.
3 separate ones, all
Well,
pertaining
no, that's
to...
not true. That's not true. 2. It's 2.
Okay.
Right?
And
it's the one from California. So Sebastian disclosed, the way that it's termed in this document is I have it right here. School professional. That Sebastian had disclosed to a school professional what had happened in California. This triggered them to this person, obviously, as a school professional, is a mandated reporter.
right.
And that they placed a call to DCS, Child Abuse Hotline. It was a priority number 3. And then they took the
What with
intake.
one being the most intense, the most at risk?
I don't know. Let me Google that. I'm not sure
Okay.
how they rate the priority. Okay.
I'm assuming 3 would be not an immediate, maybe within 24 hours they need me to contact, right?
I'm not sure. Let me look. I don't want to say, I don't want to give misinformation because I feel like there's been so much given. So what should I search? What is the
Category 3 in regards to a CPS status, like of a report?
3 priority in a DCS case in Tennessee. There we go. All right. Historically, priority 3 was assigned to referrals alleging situations with a low risk of harm where a delayed response would not compromise the investigation. Okay. Under this designation, DCS case managers had up to 3 business days from the intake creation to initiate face-to-face contact with the child. However, DCS completely eliminated the priority 3 category. All new child welfare referrals and reports now fall exclusively into the faster priority 1, imminent danger, or priority 2, moderate risks classification. And this is that changed in 2025. This is new.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that I just want to tell you guys so accurately, because I don't want to.
Seth's problem, though, I think, is that they did this study. You know, they did all of this. They got the Title 4E candidacy. They determined he was at serious or imminent risk of entering foster care, and that, you know, the removal could happen, but he was not aware of any of that. I think that was his major problem.
But we are taking his statements in those filings to be 100% accurate and not considering that there may have been other factors at play.
No, I'm saying that that's what he put into the
Yeah.
lawsuit.
Yeah,
You
right.
know?
And I'm just saying, like, if we're to take his statements as fact, but there's always a possibility that there's other factors at play, right? Like, I'm open minded to that. Like, what if,
Yeah.
hey, contact attempted, there was contact that was attempted,
Well, it
or
says,
maybe
quote,
custodial rights weren't at that time what they are now. I'm not sure.
at that time they had 50-50, both
Okay.
parties did, and it says, quote, DCS never notified Rogers that the investigation was underway, never interviewed him as Sebastian's other legal parent, never offered to place Sebastian with him during this investigation, notwithstanding that such placement was clearly within DCS authority and was the most obvious protective measure available. And then it goes on to allege that a reasonably competent investigation should have included the biological father and offering to place him with him before even closing the case. So,
But
Here's
what, and
where
that's why I'm curious. I'm sorry, Benny. That's why I'm
no,
curious if there were other factors as
Well,
far as
s-
services.
well,
Like, did they
listen.
identify something that
mm-mm.
removal from the home, not so much because there was abuse or a threat versus he is not thriving
Well, he
and
was,
those needs may not have been met.
yeah, he was having
That's what I was
homicidal
about to point
thoughts.
out.
He was
Yeah.
sexually aggressive. He was having a lot of issues at school. And then there was the verbal stuff with him and
Right.
Chris. So, yeah, I mean, I guess there was
It
quite a
says
bit.
the combination of documented sexual abuse history, physical abuse by Proudfoot, admitted by Proudfoot himself, Sebastian's expressed fear of Proudfoot, neighbors reporting Proudfoot, quote, hated the child and wanted the child to die, unquote, the grandmother reporting name calling
Did she
and
cut out for everyone or
degradation.
just me?
just you,
Uh-oh.
babe. We can hear her.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me now, Melissa? That is so weird that she can't hear me, because that's who really I wanted to hear this, because you guys
I
have
can
seen
hear
it.
you now.
Okay.
You just cut out.
The grandmother reporting name calling and degradation by Proudfoot, law enforcement reports of homicidal thoughts, sexually aggressive behavior, and DCF's own determination Sebastian was at imminent risk for removal constituted overwhelming evidence that this child was not safe. DCS ignored all of it.
Okay, so I looked up this Title 4E, and basically it says this: the Title 4E candidacy program identifies children who are at imminent risks of entering the foster care system, but can safely remain at home with the help of preventative services. It allows child welfare agencies to claim federal reimbursement for administrative costs such as caseworker time and case management,
What?
dedicated to keeping those vulnerable families together. To be classified as a Title
What?
4E candidate.
Watch, she's going to
I'm
get to the
sorry.
good part here because I looked this up too. Go ahead.
Hey,
Yes.
we're just gonna threaten to take your kid away, but he could stay with you, but we're gonna collect money while you take care of him. Is that
Yeah.
right? Do I have
It
that
gets
right?
even better than that. It
Oh,
gets even more
wonderful.
interesting.
Okay. To be classified as a Title 4E candidate, a child must meet specific criteria. Imminent risk: the child's in danger of removal but can safely remain at home or in a kinship placement if provided with targeted support. Documented case plan: there must be a formalized written case plan indicating that absent these effective preventative services, the child would require foster care. Targeted intervention: the provision of services such as mental health treatment, substance abuse program, or in-home parenting classes. Expansion under the Family First Act. With the enactment of the Family First Prevention Services Act, FFPSA, the candidacy program was vastly expanded. Historically, the Title IV funds were predominantly used to support children already in foster care. Now, states and tribes can use this framework to draw down federal matching funds for evidence-based prevention programs such as trauma therapy or family counseling, specifically designed to stop the cycle of home placement before it begins. Since local
Okay, great. What services was he getting once they started that?
Well, they never started it.
They never started it.
And here, that's ding,
Why
ding,
not?
ding. Because
He
along
went
with
missing.
this comes he went missing, but he went missing quite a bit
It was
later.
that much of an overlap? Oh, okay.
No. Along with this comes reviews by the federal government, timely investigation, safety assessments, planning, permanency, documentation,
Right.
consistency. So instead, they got this approval, they did all of this stuff, and then they closed it. They just closed it.
What?
And the supervisor closed it. Yeah.
Really? Did they give a reason of why they were closing it?
He said he no longer met the criteria or something?
Well, no. For the abuse one, they closed it because he said he was safe. The mother was very protective, and Chris said he was safe. He was busy doing his homework. He had no bruises. Everything was good. It was fine. Goodbye. The sexual one, they could not get in touch with the people in California. Those people had moved. Katie's like, I don't even know why you keep bringing this up. He was 8 years old. This was so many years ago. Here's their address. Get in touch with them. Whatever. I don't want to.
Yeah, why now? And I'm sorry, I don't understand the time frame.
Because I wanted to keep reading this only because I wonder if maybe it's possible that we're interpreting this wrong. What if? Because we're following this along. I'm trying to figure out when exactly he was he qualified for that. He was a candidate for that because the way
up there, Bindi, you'll see when they did the fast, when they had the assistant district attorney, the sheriff, the placement home.
The DA was involved in everything
for
the fucking district attorney involved, dude.
Yeah, let me.
Okay, so they were going to court.
No. Let me just read that for you then. Let me just read that to you. Let me read it to you.
That's the thing too, is if they haven't read this and haven't watched the video and kept up with this, they don't know like all these other details that you may already know. So
you're right. Okay. Yeah. All right. So this just establishes what had happened. Okay, so here's the case. This is when it actually gets into it.
Hey, Body. Thank you for joining. Bindi Body joined.
Sorry. Oh, hey. Thank you. Thank you for becoming a member, Body. I appreciate that, babe. Welcome to the ward. We're happy to have you. By we, I mean me. There's no mouse in my pocket. All right. On or about September 28th, 2022, at approximately 6:33 p.m., a call was placed to DCS Child Abuse Hotline. The intake was screened as a priority 3 with allegations of sexual abuse against an unknown perpetrator. The alleged child victim was Sebastian. The intake reported that on September 28th, 2022, Sebastian disclosed to a school professional that 2 years earlier, while living in California with his mother, he experienced sexual abuse by another child. And then it goes into the allegations. I'm not going to continue to read that. Chasing read it, and I don't think it's pertinent for this part. Sebastian told the school professional that after he told her she was the, quote, only adult who knew besides my mom. The intake further documented that Sebastian stated he was disgusted with himself about what happened and that it had gotten much more difficult to pretend like it didn't happen. The intake noted that Sebastian struggled with behaviors after he moved to the Sumner County School District and was placed in the behavior program at Schaefer Middle School. Critically, the intake documented that Sebastian, quote, stated that he is afraid of what his stepfather, Mr. Chris Proudfoot, would do if he found out, and that he is afraid that he will get hurt for telling an adult what happened. That's a quote. The intake further noted that, quote, stepfather has used corporal punishment on Sebastian several times before, and it is unknown if he knows about the abuse or how he will react or blame Sebastian. The intake also noted that Sebastian suffered from frequent bathroom accidents and displayed some verbally, sexually aggressive behavior towards multiple other students. On September 29th, Ritchie conducted an administrative review. She documented the sexual abuse allegations and noted the next steps would include a full assessment. Initial face-to-face response was due by October 3rd, 2022. On September 30th, Boswell met with Sebastian at the middle school in a private conference room. Sebastian told Boswell that he, quote, feels safe with his family at home and that he feels safe at his dad's home. Sebastian identified his father as Seth Rogers, who lived in Clarksville. Sebastian stated something happened when he lived in California, but he did not want to talk about it at school. Boswell noted Sebastian had, quote, no visible marks or bruises and appears happy and healthy at this time. On October 12th, Boswell mailed a certified letter to the family noting they had recently moved and there was no forwarding address. On October 17th, 2022, Ritchie conducted another administrative review and updated the case, noting Boswell had seen the child, that he, quote, did not want to talk about what happened in California, end quote, that the family was moving, and that efforts to contact them had been unsuccessful. On October 27th, 2022, Boswell conducted a home visit. Katie stated she, quote, does not understand why this keeps getting called into DCS, and that the abuse, quote, happened when Sebastian was 8 and another child named Jonathan was involved. She stated, quote, CPS and detectives were involved in El Cajon City in California. She provided the California address. She confirmed Sebastian had, quote, severe combined type ADHD and a 6q27 chromosome deletion, took Concerta, had an IEP and behavioral plan, and was starting therapy with Vanderbilt Psychiatry on November 3rd. She confirmed that Sebastian also saw a neurologist at Vanderbilt. During the same visit, Boswell spoke to Proudfoot in private. Proudfoot stated, quote, this was all investigated in California and that he had, quote, never spanked Sebastian, so he does not know why Sebastian feels he would be mad for talking about what happened in California. This statement was directly contradicted by Sebastian's own disclosure that he was, quote, afraid of what his stepfather would do, and by the intake noting the stepfather had used corporal punishment on Sebastian several times before. DCS did not reconcile this contradiction. Boswell then met with Sebastian in private, noting he was completing his homework and, quote, appeared happy and healthy. On November 1st, 2022, Boswell verified that the sexual abuse case in California had been investigated by Detective Gloria Mendoza in El Cajon. She also, I need to do something because this is so sad. She also verified mental health services and Vanderbilt appointments for Sebastian. On November 3rd, 2022, the case was presented to the Sumner County Child Protective Investigative Team, which included Juvenile Court, Ashley's Place Child Advocacy Center, Assistant District Attorney Jenny Smith, and law enforcement. A detective was assigned to the case. All members agreed to classify the case as, quote, administrative closure. On November 7th, 2022, Ritchie updated her review, noting, quote, the case has now been presented to CPIT as administrative closure as it was investigated in California. This was a child on child, and they were the same age. The child reports no concerns at this time. The child is getting back in therapy services. The child reports no concerns. The mother is protective and proactive with the child. On November 14th, Ritchie spoke with CAC Director Amy Salyers, and the classification was changed to unable to complete based on policy 14.7 because the incident occurred out of state. On November 15th, Supervisor Walker completed the final administrative review and approved the case for closure as unable to complete due to the incident occurring out of state. The case was closed. That's where I am confused, because when did he become a candidate? It's reference at the end of all of this, not where I would think it would be, which is after what I just read, before the next case. Do you see what I'm saying? Am I here? Are y'all here? Am I alone?
No, you're here. Is everybody else here though, or just me?
Well, what did you think of what I just read?
I lost my phone. I couldn't find my phone. Sorry, I put it down somewhere and walked away, and I couldn't find it.
Oh my God!
I was like, "No, you're not alone. I was just feeding my tadpole. I was listening."
Your mother's a liar. Your mother's a liar.
Your mother's a whore. Yeah, it's unclear
Sorry, I am
when.
here. My daughter's just talking to me. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're all assholes, basically. But no, I swear I was listening to you thoroughly. It
Okay.
is unclear from all that, like, at what point.
Okay.
What happened? How did it close out? Why did it close out?
Thank you. This is where, okay. So I think the way that this reads, and remember, there are some questions that are going to remain unanswered. We are missing some chunks of information that would be very helpful in answering some questions that we have. Okay. And we're not going to get those anytime soon, if ever, because Sebastian is a minor. And so I don't know I don't know how this is going to go, but anyway, we're missing some information. But to me, the way that this reads, and it seems the way that they're documenting this is chronologically, the order in which the events happened. They started with CPS's first involvement, or DCS. They started with DCS's first involvement, which happened in September of 2022, and the steps that they took. And ultimately, the case was resolved and closed because it occurred out of state and Sebastian was getting therapy and all of the things.
Yeah, so much time had passed and they didn't have jurisdiction. I don't know how that works actually with DCFS, but I think the timeline is confusing me even more, that so much time had passed and it's way after the fact that things are being investigated to begin with.
Well, they're state contractors, so how are they even connecting the two states? Or is it just for documentation purposes of like, this is how it was reported,
I think that is. Well, okay. So when Sebastian, this is what I think happened. Okay. I think what happened is when this case, when the assault occurred in California, if I recall correctly, the way that it was explained is that they informed the police there was a case. We know that because even in this documentation, they referenced the detective in California. So I think what happened is, the way this reads, this is what it sounds like to me. This is just my opinion. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a caseworker. I do not have the relevant education, experience, etc. It's just an opinion. To me, what it sounds like is Sebastian was displaying some things at school, some behaviors. And I think he was counseled. I think he spoke to somebody. And I think he disclosed this incident at school to this person who is, because of their position at the school, a mandated reporter. They did what they had to do, which is to notify DCS. DCS in turn contacted California, the actual, not the Child Protective Services in California, but the police in California who did the investigation and got the pertinent details. That there's nothing for them from DCS that they could do in Tennessee for a situation that occurred in California, that this is their attitude. I'm not saying whether I agree. That by the account, Katie is proactive and protective of Sebastian. She's taking him for therapy. He sees a doctor. He is on medication. He sees a neurologist. The needs surrounding these behaviors that are occurring at the school are being addressed. And that's why I think that it was closed from there.
They also moved. So once
That's
they
true too.
moved and he came there, he had an IEP, he had therapy happening, those kinds of things at the school. He was placed in a special program in Tennessee at the school. And when he was having these behaviors, whatever it was, he was placed in the school behavioral program. He was receiving therapy 3 times a week at the mental health cooperative. He was medicated on Concerta and saw a neurologist at Vanderbilt. He was about to start ABA therapy. The therapist that he was seeing, so he was seeing a therapist, which was mental health, not the ABA. That's different. The therapist said he was sexually aggressive and had frequent bathroom accidents, and that was a trauma response. Then they did the September 28th, 2022, the hotline priority 3 call. Unknown person called. We don't know. Sebastian had disclosed that 2 years earlier, which was it 2 years earlier? Maybe. That child B coerced him to do these things. He says it happened between 10 and 12, and it was over several weeks. Katie says it was when he was 8 and that the child was the same age. Seth says it's when he was younger and the child was 5 or 6 years older. Sebastian said he was disgusted with himself and it was becoming hard to pretend that this did not happen. So then the 29th, they did a face-to-face. Then the 30th, this is all in September of 2022, they met with Sebastian again. He said that he was fine at home. He appears happy and healthy. On October 12th, the letter was mailed to the family, returned, the family in California. The letter was returned. The family had moved away. October 17th, second review notes failed to contact anybody. The 27th, she went back to the home. Katie was frustrated. Why does this keep getting called in? The abuse happened when he was 8 years old. Here's their address. She confirmed what she was doing with him as far as taking care of him. And at that time, Chris was spoken to because Sebastian had said at school that he was afraid that Chris would find out about all of this. He didn't want him to know. And Proudfoot said, I've never spanked him, and I don't know why he'd even be scared of me. This is, bullshit. It didn't happen. So November 1st, Boswell verified that the California abuse happened with Detective Gloria Mendoza. She also went and verified that they were getting him mental health treatment. And November 3rd, the case was presented, and this is where all of this kind of gets bigger. The case was presented to the Sumner County CPIT team, which is Juvenile Court, Ashley's Place Child Center, the ADA, Jenny Smith, and law enforcement. They met and they decided it was an administrative closure. November 7th, Richie reviews it and says it was child on child. They were the same age. Child reports no concerns. Mother seems very protective and proactive. On November 14th, it is reclassified as unable to complete under policy number 14.7, which is it occurred out of state. There's nothing we can do. That other person was looking into it. There's not much more we can do. And then the 15th, Walker approved the final closure as unable to complete due to incident occurring out of state. So all of that happened and that went away. So that was November 15th. Then May of 2023, a hotline called Priority 3 alleged that Chris pushed Sebastian against a wall and hit him in the belly. May 8th, Boswell comes back to the house, talks to Sebastian on the porch outside, and said Chris was requiring him to wear a belt every day. When he wasn't wearing one, Chris smacked him in his belly with the back of his hand. He also admitted to DCF that he had been lying about brushing his teeth and making his bed, and he had been getting in trouble for lying.
Hey, Chasing. People are having a very hard time hearing you in chat, babe. I have your mic turned up over here as much as I can, but you got to do it.
Bad?
It's very calming though.
It's very low. And listen, if you ever want a job at a 1-900 number, OMG, they would give it to you in a hot second, babe.
Yeah.
So good.
Oh my God.
Well, I'm just while you have an intermission here.
Sure.
Maybe because I saw, I think Remy earlier say like, well, what's the issue as far as not wearing a belt? As I'm listening to you explain all these prior incidents, maybe there is a deeper reason.
There was.
Chris wanted Sebastian to be wearing a belt, which uphold your pants, and that's just completely just a thought, like I'm just open, like I'm not jumping to one side. I'm considering maybe there's a reason, not justifying hitting in the stomach at all. I'm just saying that I could probably think of a reason why you need to wear your belt, you need to brush your teeth, you need to do these things, right?
Remy denies the allegation that she is the one that said that asked about a belt. It wasn't Remy.
I saw
Look,
someone
already
ask.
We're off to a fantastic start. Melissa's up here putting comments on other people.
I'm sorry.
Way to cancel my channel, MJ.
I'm so sorry. I saw
totally
someone
kidding.
Like 30 minutes
Somebody
ago
did.
say what
They
would
were
have been an
talking
issue.
about it. Why? About maybe he was concerned about
it's in
pants
here,
sagging.
So we don't have to. Yeah, we don't even have to make.
We
any
don't have to.
assumptions.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Because he was making him wear pull-ups.
Right.
He wanted his pants to stay up above the pull-ups so that the kids would not bully him at school if they saw them.
Right.
Okay. I don't think that's ridiculous.
Well, yeah. Well, imagine if he was at school and the pants were down a little and you could see the pull-ups. That would be very embarrassing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's ridiculous that like I think a father figure, period, like it's a different role. And I think if he was requiring him to wear a belt and do certain things, it was probably for his best interest. Again, I'm putting aside any allegation of physical abuse. I'm not saying that. I'm just
We're not
saying
addressing
in
that part
general.
of it.
Yes.
Just the belt wearing of the belt. Just the wearing of the belt, you guys. That's all she's addressing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I don't see anything wrong with being like, I was raised by hard asses, like, and we had certain things we had to do and rules we had to follow and respect that had to be given to certain things. You know what I mean? And I don't see anything wrong with that. Making him brush his, teaching him how to be a responsible human and also looking out for him, which, Sebastian may not have seen, but you're concerned about him getting picked on. You know what I mean? That's
and correct me if I'm wrong, his diagnosis wasn't until very recent to his disappearance. So I say that regarding it's not like that would have been a factor throughout that period of time, right? Like, well, hey, it's a little bit different being on the spectrum. If that wasn't diagnosed, from what I'm understanding, that wouldn't so much be a factor until more recent, right?
Well, I mean, he clearly had some issues going on. He's severe ADHD. He was on medication. He was in therapy. But what was odd to me is that they hadn't started ABA therapy until he was 15. Very strange. Doesn't make any sense. But anyway, they closed that one too on May 11th. So all gone.
Right. This is
well, I think it seems like that one can, from what they saw, it was
9 months.
Didn't you read before that Sebastian clarified, like in the conversation had to be had, that, hey, if you're going to, share, make sure you share the full context, right? Like not just a piece and then that piece that's horrible.
Yeah.
Isn't that what someone read before?
Yeah. It's very hard though.
Right. Like it wasn't anything more than just like a back, hand into the stomach, like, hey, you gotta like pick this up, like wear your belt.
Well,
we don't know. How hard was it? How soft was it? Do we know? I can tell you right now, if Scott backhanded Jace in the belly, Jace being 5'7", 135 pounds, he would probably fall on the ground and die. Like, he would be
What
so
kind of
fucking
backhand are we
shocked.
doing?
He'd be
Well,
shocked.
and the belly's very sensitive place too, like to get smacked in, you know what I mean? It'll
Yeah.
kind of knock
I
the breath
think
out of you.
I think you guys are automatically equating it to a hit versus a, hey,
No,
pick these up, you know,
I
and
think even
that's
then,
the problem with
but
just this statement. We don't have the context with it.
no, we don't. We don't.
Yeah, but
So if we go to him on Web Sleuths, right, and he's aggravated, you can hear his tone of voice. And I'm not going to say that when Scott's aggravated, his tone of voice is not fucking jacked, because it is. If he raises his voice to Jace, who is high level on the spectrum, he would. If he just raises his voice, Jace will kind of just look at me like, do I need
But
to
that
be
kind of is my
concerned,
point,
or is it whatever?
right?
But if he
It
put his hands on him, Melissa, if he popped him on the belly, if it was a little tiny pop on the belly, I don't think it would have gotten reported at all.
that's what I was
How do you
thinking.
know
Yeah.
But
though?
can I say
If
something?
he
Wait, can I?
perceived it that way,
It was a hotline call alleging Proudfoot
based on what
pushed him,
Sebastian shared, right?
but we don't
No,
know.
listen. This
We
is
don't
And
know.
this
what
is
Chris
what's
shared.
in. No, wait.
Okay.
This is the intake. The
Yes.
intake reported that Proudfoot had made, quote, comments about pushing the child against a wall when he does not behave.
Right.
That's what the allegation is. Pushing a child against the wall. Who would have, now think about this. Who
He
would have heard
also
that?
said, though,
He
Benji,
goes on
remember,
later. He does go later
Mhm.
and explains what had happened.
but think about what he has said on panels. It doesn't match
yes.
this either. He
Well,
doesn't
we're
say
going to
he
put
pushed him against a wall. He doesn't say he hit him in the belly. He says, I spanked him with a belt. And people give pushback. And he's like, I didn't leave bruises or marks, but I did hit him with the belt. So I'm
He does
thinking to
say that.
myself, okay, so the first initial alleging thing here is in the first report. I'm afraid to tell Mr. Chris because of what he might do. Then in May, a priority 3 hotline call alleging Proudfoot pushed Sebastian against the walls and hit him in the belly. Then when he speaks to them, he says, yes, he did smack me. I did smack him in his belly with the back of my hand. Okay. Then when all this comes out and he goes missing, people are talking and he's like, well, I hit him with the belt. Well, how many different versions of what's happening is happening here? Which one of these things or any of these things actually happened? I would say the stuff that Sebastian told the teachers, the therapy people, or whoever is more likely to have happened, because Chris's stories are different.
Okay.
I mean, some of Seth's are too, but Chris's are different in this case. We're only
Let's hear.
talking
You
about
want to hear? We can hear it. I can totally
Yeah.
pull up.
Yeah.
I have it
I
ready
wanna
to
hear
go.
it.
I done searched the transcript like a professional. All right, you guys. Let's do that. Let me
Can
pull
it
this down.
It's
What you
very
need?
hard to
What you're
listen
saying?
to. It's hard
can
to
it
listen to.
exist? And I'm asking in your guys' opinion.
Okay.
Corporal punishment. There is a line where a parent can use reasonable corporal punishment without it getting into abuse. And I've seen it play out in court cases like there, and I forgot what they referred to it as. But there's like this very tiny, very
Reasonable
like
discipline
limited,
is what they call it.
reasonable, correct. And so what I'm saying is that how do we know that this is anything outside of that? And again, as you know, it keeps being pointed out, Sebastian struggled with a variety of things, right? How do we know? And maybe brutal honesty, right? But the brutal honesty, how it's relayed, right? It can be concerning, right? Well, hey, we got to follow up on this, we got to report this, but it's anything that was deemed abusive.
What's interesting to me is what the initial call was. The initial call was about comments about pushing the child against the wall. So this sounds like somebody called and said, hey, This guy said that he pushed this child against the wall. When they get there and Boswell speaks to Sebastian, Sebastian says that he actually smacked him in his belly with the back of his hand and said, you're supposed to wear a belt. So,
which I could believe both. And I can see that scenario playing out without and again, I'm not saying one way or the other, but I can see it being played out where it was, oh my God, that sounds horrible. Yet that is really not like, it wasn't an abusive, like, hey, get out. What the hell are you doing? You know, like that type of thing where it's not abnormal. You know, it just sounds horrible.
Well, I grew up when
too. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Allie, honey.
That's okay. I was just going to say, I grew up in a family where, like, my brothers, they did get whipped with belts and switches, not really by my parents, more by my grandpa. Like, and so the whipping with a belt, like, I know that especially Chris's age, maybe to me, that is not as alarming as pushing up against the wall. I don't like it. Don't get me wrong.
You gotta stop and think, though. He was a fragile kid. He had the chromosome deletion. He had some other issues going on. He had severe trauma from the sexual abuse. And he was wearing pull-ups because of
but also you're acknowledging very devious sexual behavior and homicidal, right? Like we can't baby and at the same time be very, very concerning, maybe. And I'm not defending it. I'm just saying everybody parents differently, right?
No.
And so maybe in Chris's mind, something more stern. And again, I'm not saying, anything ridiculous, but everyone takes a different approach. And he may have been trying to correct behavior. I'm not saying it's a right way or wrong way versus there may have been very concerning behavior, right?
We're talking about the lawsuit. Forget about what Chris did or what Seth said. The fact is, this kid was sexually abused anally. He was having frequent bathroom accidents, resulting in him having to wear pull-ups due to his prior trauma. Now he's going to have to wear the belt to hold up the pull-ups due to the trauma. He additionally has ADHD. He's on medication, Concerta. Concerta can numb your feeling, like your physical feelings. So maybe he's got to pee and he doesn't even know he has to pee. So now he's got even more of a problem on top of every other damn thing that's going on. His dad is living over there. We've seen the dad and how he can act. This kid's got a lot going on. A lot.
Right.
He's reporting this to other adults, school, therapists, and other people, his grandma included. The grandma allegedly kept all these secrets for him, and that's in here too somewhere. And he's nervous. Like, what if Chris finds out? How's he going to act?
I'm curious about what he meant by when Chris finds out, because even in the documents, in this document, what's written in those reports, what's quoted from those reports, sounds like Chris always knew. Now, did Sebastian know that Chris knew? I don't know, but there's also other reports. There's other parts in this document that are taken from reports that allege that Chris demeaned him because of his essay. So which is it? Did Chris know or did he not know? This is the conflicting part that has me like, bruh.
And Sebastian even put that together. Could even
also what it's a conflicting of in one sense, and I remember this going back too from the beginning. And again, I didn't follow this case like that, but the image of Sebastian in pull-ups and functioning at a much lower mentality than his age. Yet at the same time, I feel like I hear contradicting things to that. So I feel like I'm like, well, which one is it? Because it does matter, when you're explaining he's in pull-ups and he
but I think it can be both. I
guess.
I know it can. I have experience with a child right now who acts very baby-fied in some ways and in other ways has been exposed to stuff and is commenting or looking up things that they don't even understand. because of what they've been exposed to. You know what I mean? So think about that.
This
You
is
know
what
what I
I,
mean? So
I
maybe
yes.
do, but I think there's a difference between your behavior and your personality versus do you know right from wrong? You know, like it's a different level of is seemingly at normal IQ child, right? With no outside diagnoses or anything like that, behaving a certain way from experiences, trauma, upbringing, versus you are not functioning at the level you should be mentally. There is a difference for me, at
I
least.
don't know.
right.
I'm going to tell you what it sounds like to me. You know what it sounds like to me? It sounds like to me this kid was in a fucked up circumstances
Yeah.
all around
Mhm.
him, and that
Yeah.
he outsourced because that's
Yep.
why he went to other adults and said, "Hey, this is what's going on." And let's just, well, if we're going to mention it, let's just fucking mention it all. This is not
Mhm.
the first time that Sebastian outsourced. He
Nope.
outsourced in California on Seth
Yep.
too. So to me, what it sounds like is a kid who's recognizing, which is difficult for kids to even do, that Sebastian's age, even in 2022 and in 2023, when this was happening, on top of the ADHD, being autistic, the chromosome deletion, he's also going through puberty, which is a fucked up time
So hard.
Mhm.
anyways. And I think
Yes.
what was happening is, I think this kid was crying out for help. And I think that, if I'm
And I
being
think he was starting to
100%
give up.
honest, if what?
I think he was starting to give up
I think
because
so too.
nobody was solving the problem.
Exactly.
Years and years.
Exactly. I think if I'm being honest, I think if we're all going to be honest about what's going on and what's in these documents, this kid was out crying for help because he was not only failed, he was failed at every level.
He needed
Everybody
help
in
long
his
Yeah.
ago.
house,
Long
Right.
everybody
ago.
around
Right.
him,
I
who the
agree.
people who legally are like and morally required to help weren't
Yep.
helping, because guess what? They couldn't get along. They
Yep.
weren't even talking. Let's just say what it is.
I agree.
We know from all the interviews, and there are some basic things that Chris, Katie, and Seth all agree on. And the one thing that they absolutely, all three of them agree on, is that Katie doesn't want to talk to Seth for any reason at
Mhm.
any time at all, period. Not through email, not through
Nope.
text, and not on the phone, and damn sure not in person.
Nope.
And
And
that's what
Chris
this
was
child was
handling all of
experiencing.
that. Yeah, think
Right.
about that. He was handling the back and forth between them. And Seth
Parental
said, and
alienation. Yeah.
Chris didn't disagree when Seth said, I've been talking to Chris about getting this done because we need to get him into his ABA. So they were trying to
So
transfer
did Seth
him.
know chasing? Because if the argument is right, I
Didn't
wasn't
know what.
aware.
Didn't
But
know.
Seth, they were all on the same page, right? That he was potentially going into some type of treatment, right? So was Seth aware or
He
not
already
aware?
he was already in treatment. He
Okay.
knew. Seth did know about the sexual abuse. Did
Okay.
Sebastian know that Seth knew? We don't know. What
But
we do
based
know,
on this filing, he's saying
based
he
on
didn't
this
know which
filing,
part. Yeah.
Sebastian said Seth didn't know. Seth did know. The sexual abuse thing had nothing to do with whether Seth knew or not in the filing. Seth did not know that Sebastian reported it to somebody there in Tennessee,
Okay.
and they started the assessment. That's what Seth didn't know.
Okay.
But Seth knew, yes, of course. I mean, he knew that Sebastian had gone through all that. He just didn't realize he was struggling so badly and needing this intervention stuff because they didn't notify him. Katie doesn't speak to him, and Chris is the
Hmm.
go-between. So is Chris going to go to Seth and say, hey, they came to my house because I whacked your kid in the belly because he's not wearing his pull-ups? And that's another issue. Seth said, I wasn't making him wear those fucking pull-ups because at my house, I would say, hey, reminder, go to the bathroom, and he'd go. And that was it.
You're
He said,
right.
I
It
am
was a
leaving it.
very
I didn't want to put those
conflicting
on him.
environment for him. And Notorious Ash says she might have had a good reason not to talk to him. I'm not arguing whether she did or
Two
she
things
didn't.
can
What
be
I'm
true.
saying,
Yeah.
two things can be true at the same time. I'm talking about it from Sebastian's perspective,
For sure.
not from
Right.
us adults. We have a perspective on, and I know this from talking to my adult children. And for you guys in the chat who have adult children, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But those of you who don't, you will, because you can have a memory of a specific situation, good or bad, it doesn't even matter. And you're talking about it with your children, and your perception as an adult about what happened in that situation, I can guarantee you your child will have a different perspective. It's not a completely different perspective, but it's different based on many factors. Every child is a human being. They're all individual. The age the child was at the time, all of those things go into play. So we have to take it. I'm talking about from Sebastian's perspective. He sees all the fucking conflict.
Yeah.
And even if I think, and I know this sounds cold, but also, even if you do have a good reason not to talk to him,
Yeah.
for certain things, you suck it the fuck up. I was literally thinking that before Miss Cheese wrote it in the chat, and you do it because it's what's best for your kid. You know what I mean? There are certain things you have to. So,
I mean, I've pushed my sister into it. Her and my middle nephew's dad. There was a very abusive history there, and they despise each other. Like, he is mentally, physically, emotionally abusive to everybody around him. But my nephew is court ordered to go there. So she does have her husband take my nephew back and forth. But the judge mandated them to communicate. They don't have a choice, but they have to do it through an app. He doesn't want to do it through an app because he wants control over her. He wants to hear her get triggered, so he'll push for that, but she'll only strictly discuss things through the app. Well, they both think my nephew is not affected. He's 17 years old. He doesn't give a shit. Of course he does. I talk to him. He's like, this sucks. You know, why can't we just fucking get along, Auntie Tracy? I'm like, I don't know, kid. You know, they just can't. A lot.
It's hard.
Happens. He's like, it's ridiculous, though. Like, they can't.
They don't
have a
understand. Kids
conversation.
don't understand.
But we expect them to get over stuff. We expect kids to deal with everything. Get over it.
Just accept things, because as adults, we have learned that you can bitch all you want. There are some things that are beyond your control and capacity to change. And you have to accept the situation the way that it is. Brittany J., we're looking at you. You might want to talk about your kid all day long, every day of the week, and twice on Sundays, but the internet ain't for that. It's just not the way the internet works. That's a specific example, which is me being petty and not the appropriate. But yesterday, I don't know, something that happened yesterday when we were listening to something just pissed me off. So, and now I'm being petty about it.
That's
so
all right.
Sorry for the petty moment.
Have a petty moment.
Everybody has them every once in a while, but that's my point. I guess I could have used myself, but why do that? let me be as immature as hell. My point is that for Sebastian, I think part of the issue for him was that a chromosomal deletion when Sebastian was growing up was something that was diagnosed. We had diagnoses for that. We had tests for that. There are things to look for. I think that what happened for him likely, and this is why he got a late autism diagnosis, I think is because that chromosomal deletion, the symptoms of that sometimes overlap with with also symptoms of being on the autism spectrum. And I think it took a longer for everything to have everybody to, do all the evaluations. Sometimes those things just take time. And in the interim of that, we have two conflicting households. Seth had rules and this is by his own admission. And I'm not saying which one is better or worse. I'm simply, I'm just reporting the facts. I don't make the news. I'm just reporting it. No opinion. But think about this from a kid's perspective. Okay. You have one household who is very, very strict, very, very regimented because they're military. That's something that's ingrained in you. It is what it is. Then you have another set. The other household who's like, well, let's, I don't have that much time. I don't get to spend as much time with you as I want. So I want the time that we spend together to be
To be
fun. So
happy.
let's
Yeah.
have fun. Let's be happy. I'm not going to, and guess what? If you're on punishment from house A over here at house B, you ain't on punishment. When you get back to house A, you can get back on punishment. But
And
over
that's
here,
exactly what Seth said that he did. If he was in
exactly,
trouble over there, I'd look at the situation and maybe he would, have some restrictions, but usually not.
exactly.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. And then you have the fact that they're all autistic children, and I don't have personal experience with having a child on the
Right.
spectrum. I've heard Chasing talk about it quite frequently. I've heard Lil Red talk about it and other people in the chat. And one common denominator that all of you guys seem to say is that chaos is never good for them. I
No.
don't think chaos is good for children in general. I
Mhm.
think that kids like to know, from my own experience raising the four little heathens I raised, my kids, like, it wasn't like strict or a strict schedule. Like at 8 o'clock, you had to be doing this. If they went to bed at 8:05, the sky didn't fall or anything. But
Right.
just knowing what to expect and what is expected out of them
Mhm.
made things easier. It made, and me, I run around untreated with ADD. I'm unmedicated. I'm probably unmedicated for other things too, if we want to get real honest about it, because I'm not taking any more medication. I had a bad experience, and so for my brain, being on a schedule, knowing what comes next, what I'm supposed to do next, was helpful to me as well. And that's not what he was getting. Consistency. He wasn't getting consistency. That's what I should say. That's better.
I think that with Sebastian, we don't know. I mean, was he a sensitive kid? Was he like Jace, where some parts of him are sensitive and other parts he could care less? Who knows?
Yeah.
Consistency is important, and maybe Chris's methods were trying to prepare him to be a man eventually, at some point. And sometimes the tone of voice, the facial expressions, those things, kids are very sensitive to that type of shit. Like Jace, I have resting bitch face. So if my voice goes up and I have that face on, it's immediately, are you mad? Are you mad at me? And it's like, dude,
Hmm.
you're like my best friend in the whole world. What are you talking about? Of course I'm not mad at you. But he may think that because I raised my voice at the dog for, doing whatever it did, or I have an ugly face on. So you just never know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
hard.
I just, real quick, can I address Poppy? Poppy Love says, in my opinion, Sebastian was afraid of his stepdad and he asked for help, or his teachers observed something or were concerned enough to report to CPS. Isn't this correct? Were there 5 CPS Tennessee reports? If there were 5, there's only 2 that are listed in this lawsuit.
Yeah, we don't know.
And we
Um,
don't actually know who is the one who called for, specifically the second one, which was the most recent, which was in May of 2023.
mhm.
So just a little under a year
We do know
before.
too, though, that the nurse reported that it was very strange that the mom canceled the therapy.
I have thought about that, Chasing. I know we're
Yeah,
going to get, I
for
have
her to
thought
go out of her
about that
way
and
to
thought
do that.
about that.
Yeah, for her
I'm
to go out of the
Where
way
did
to
that
do
come
it,
from though? Where
it's
did
in
she
there.
report it? I know it's in there, but what I'm saying is
She
it
reached out to law enforcement, I
reached
guess.
out. See, that's what I would like to, there are some things that, like, I listened to you read, and
Mhm.
there was one part that I kept rewinding to hear you read it again, and no matter how many blush, it wasn't you, it was a me issue. My brain was just like buffering, and so I was like, you know what, I'm going to look at them myself, I'm going to read them myself, and if I have to read it back 27 times, I'm going to read it back 27 times. And there are still parts that um I don't that don't make sense, that seem to, in small ways, but when you're talking about a lawsuit, those small ways can sometimes make a difference when they're contradictory.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's difficult to even think that, I don't know. um, Who knows? But I guess we're all going to have our own opinions, but The lawsuit is the lawsuit. He's
Yes.
alleging what he's alleging, whether it's true or not. He's going to have to prove all of those things. And maybe he's pushing. I mean, he's asking for a ridiculous amount of money. I don't even think he wants that amount of money. I think his intention is one, to get more people again talking about this, talking about Sebastian. Two, get all the discovery that he can possibly get and depositions from everybody involved. And, he has talked about like Sebastian's Law and all of that stuff. So maybe that's what he's trying to do. Maybe he just
Maybe
feels like
he's on
he's
an
fucking out of
information.
options, and
Yeah, maybe. I mean, one of the things I will say this to your point that I do agree with what you've said, and I think that something that's in the actual documents and something that Seth has said in the interviews that he did surrounding this filing. One of the things it seems that keeps coming up with him is that he is very, very frustrated by the lack of communication from law enforcement to him with him.
for sure.
And
Yeah.
it's not uncommon. I think anybody that's, you don't even have to cover true crime, just follow it. Most most parents of missing children, most parents of missing loved ones, most parents of murdered, when they even when they know what happened, they just don't know the who.
Mhm.
Um, are frustrated with the lack of communication from law enforcement. And I wish that there was some funding available to victims of crime in the interim, because there is
Uh-oh.
an advocate when they go to trial. But there's a lot of time in between what happened to their family member, what happened to their loved one, and the trial. And I wish there was some kind of program that could offer a liaison between the family and between law enforcement to explain to the family, listen, I hear you. I understand your frustration. Let me see what I can do to see what we can do to facilitate more communication. And then they talk to law enforcement, and law enforcement can be like, listen, there are some parts of this case that we're not going to talk about to anybody. We have to protect the integrity. But if there could be some type of like go between that could help facilitate so that victims of crimes don't feel like they're being ignored. Like they feel like they matter, because they do. They feel like they shouldn't feel like they're the only person. And that's what I think Seth feels like. He's the only person that even gives a rat's fat kneecap about where is Sebastian? He's the only one that cares. I think that must be a very lonely and isolating feeling. I
So something was just filed. Do you mind if I bring it up?
I absolutely no, of course. Bring it up. Do it. Whatever you need to do. Tell me what I need to. Oh, let me see. Let
I
me.
just need to share my screen as all.
Wait, she fell off her panel.
Oh, she probably hit leave instead. She probably was going to hit share.
Oh, there I am. Ha
There
ha.
you
Hold
are.
on. Let me
Now you're
fix
at the
it.
bottom. It's my panel. Oh, shit.
I fixed it.
So funny. Okay, I'm going to share this really quickly.
All
Okay?
right. I meant to click that one.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I'm sharing it. Okay, so this just happened. Seth Rogers.
Hold on, Jason, just really quick. If I don't have a cigarette, I'm going to act like an asshole. I can already feel it coming.
Sure.
While you read, I have you on the phone. I'm going to listen. Everybody knows this about me. You might not, Jason, but now you do. See, this is the kind of professionalism and raw fucking honesty you'll get over here at the ward.
Lovely.
I'll be right back.
Okay, so he filed this today, looks like.
Okay.
Plaintiff's motion to seal and strike original complaint.
Oh.
Plaintiffs Seth Rogers individually and as the father and next friend of, I'm going to just call him S because of what he's asking for, and friend of S, a minor,
Okay.
by and through their undersigned counsel, respectfully move this court pursuant to Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 5.2 and the court's inherent authority to 1. Seal the original complaint filed in this action, And 2, strike the docket entry for the original complaint to prevent public access to the filing containing the minor's full name.
Huh.
In support thereof, plaintiffs state the following. On June 22nd, plaintiffs filed a complaint for damages and injunctive relief in the above captioned action. The original complaint inadvertently contained the legal full name of S, the minor plaintiff, and the missing child at the center of this civil rights action. Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 5.2A3 provides that a party making an electronic or paper filing that contains information about a minor must use only the initials, which I only saw initials,
What?
so I
Me
don't know.
too.
Let's just double check this here. Okay. Following the filing, the court detected this deficiency before the case was served and notified counsel that this case had been temporarily restricted to protect the minor's identity, and the plaintiffs were required to file a motion to seal the original complaint and to file an amended complaint in civil case cover sheet complying with 5.2. Plaintiffs are concurrently filing an amended complaint in civil case cover sheet in which all references to the minor's full name have been replaced with these initials. Okay. Argument. The minor's full name constitutes information required by federal statute to be maintained in confidence, satisfying the standard for sealing. There is a well-established presumption of public access to court records under the common law and First Amendment. Okay. To overcome this presumption, the proponent of sealing must demonstrate a compelling interest and show the seal is narrowly tailored to serve that reason. The Sixth Circuit has expressly recognized that information recognized by statute to be maintained in confidence, such as the name of a minor victim of sexual assault, is among the categories of information that typically suffice to overcome the presumption of public access. That recognition applies with particular force here. Federal Rule of Civil Procedure expressly requires that filings involving a minor's name include only the initials. But this.
Oh, and only the original complaint is sought to be sealed. The complaint substitute is filed concurrently. So it's not like, wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's
okay. Very interesting.
Let me do something here. Hold on.
So it's not what I was thinking, because I was thinking he's using that as a reason. That's just the reason that they're given to seal the entire thing, but they don't want it sealed. They just want so that can't be it. As if, because like maybe there's other case law, you know what I mean, where it would make sense for that to be a reason to seal it, but no.
Yeah. So, okay, this motion is very narrowly tailored. I just asked for a summary. It asked the court only to seal one document, the original complaint, ECF number 1, because it inadvertently included his full legal name instead of the initials. Okay, so it only wants the original complaint is sought to be sealed. Plaintiffs are not seeking to seal the docket, any substantive motions, or any other documents other than the single original complaint.
I think what this is,
that's fine.
I think what had happened was, I think that, because you can see this was they're saying this was filed June, the original was filed June 22nd.
Yeah.
We didn't, what the filing we're looking at is dated July 17th.
Yeah, I just was
16th
checking. So maybe he just needed to add that into the case
record.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it needed to be in the case record. I think that think it was already sealed.
I think so as well.
Yeah. That's why we already got we only got the initials.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, I think you're correct that we just saw initials. That's all that was, but the document had not been put with this history of documents in here.
Yes.
So now it's in there. Okay.
I think it was a delay in the uploading to Pacer.
I agree. Yeah. Okay.
And that's why it seems technically it is quote unquote new in that it has been recently newly added to Pacer, but it is part of the entire record. There was an original filing made that has been sealed. Now
that
we
haven't
have,
seen.
right, we're not going to see it. Now we have the one that has been amended. What we see is the amended. I think we're all
What
on
would
the
be the
same
purpose
page.
of that though? Because his name, he's talked a lot about why he named him what he did. Is that for maybe
he said
search
that he
engine
doesn't-
purposes?
Yeah, he doesn't want anybody to be able to, if they locate him and they know that he is a sexual abuse victim, harm could come to him. Like if he
Okay.
goes to them and says, "My name is Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers,"
And then they search
find
it
him,
and
yeah,
okay.
and they know, oh, this kid has been abused, perhaps they're going to try and exploit that even further.
Okay, that makes
Which
sense.
would be a little bit crazy. There's also something with the police one. If you guys want to see this,
I'm ready whenever you are, Chasing. I cut my cigarette short just so everybody knows. That's the kind of professionalism you'll get here only at the ward. You got to be prepared to run in.
Exactly. All right. So this Seth versus Sumner County notice of setting of initial case management conference. Notice is hereby given that an initial case management conference is scheduled for November 12th,
Wow.
2026 at 11 a.m. unless otherwise ordered. All ICMCs will be conducted by telephone. Participants must call this number. Lead trial counsel for each party is required to participate in this unless otherwise ordered. Appearance by counsel at ICMC will not be deemed to waive any defenses to personal jurisdiction. Counsel must have their calendars available during the ICMC. If all parties have not been served or have not answered or otherwise responded prior to the date, counsel for the filing or removing party is responsible for moving to reschedule. Okay. They must, at the initiative of plaintiff's counsel or the removing party's counsel, prepare a joint proposed initial case management order, which must be filed at least 3 business days before the 12th of November. Counsel must utilize the appropriate forms on the court's website with the designated provisions for the assigned district judge. Because Judge Holmes, well, wait a minute. Because Judge Holmes' forms include all required procedures of the assigned district judge, no incorporation of any other form is accepted. Okay, great. And then that's just from the clerk's office. Okay, so there's that. Did they do a case management one on this one? Maybe.
This is interesting. This makes more sense. Because at the beginning I was talking about like the timeline of how things go. If this was actually originally filed June 22nd, then this would be a month out. So this would, or almost a month out, right? 30 days. This is pretty much within
Is the same for this one too. It's the same exact thing for the DCS one, which is interesting because that is seen. So this one will be seen by Magistrate Judge Barbara D. Holmes. Then you've got this one here. I gotta share it again, but it's a different one that is in there now for the DCS one on the same day, which is crazy because it's a different judge. So if you want to share that back again, we've got here Judge Crenshaw. This is Department of Child Services. Telephone at 10 a.m. on the 12th. So the other one was, 11 a.m. on the 12th. So maybe it'll be fast.
Wow.
So they're both scheduled for the 12th of November. And
this is interesting.
Initial case management conferences, both of them.
So I'm curious about this. Bodine, I thank you so much for your gift. I appreciate that, babe, so much. Thank you. So now, if they're setting an initial case management conference, that means what? It's been accepted?
I don't think. I mean, I guess, but not necessarily, in my opinion.
Or maybe
accepted
by the judge.
Okay. Well, judges have been assigned. Let's see.
Body says the case conference does not necessarily the case will not. Maybe they're going to hear. I don't. Well, and it is.
Yeah, they could file under Rule 12. They could try and get rid of it. They could, they could definitely, put in for a dismissal. Absolutely. So the sequence, the judge is going to give them the opportunity to respond within whatever amount of days that they have. I'm not sure what that is with this kind of case.
When I looked it up, I'll tell you exactly because I still have it. 21 to 60 days. Once served, government defendants rarely just file a straightforward answer. Instead, institutional defendants almost always file what Chasing named Federal Rule 12b-6, motion to dismiss.
Yeah, I think this is just to get a date on the schedule. You know what I'm saying? Just to have it already. I don't think.
That's true.
Do you see anything else that was like as a response?
Not yet. I don't see anything else.
Does it show that everybody has been served?
Well, this just says, so I put in for summary, the lawsuit's been filed, assigned to a district judge and a magistrate judge as well. The case is proceeding through the normal federal court process. They are telling the parties how to prepare for this first scheduling conference, including filing a joint proposed case management order. Let's see. The court has accepted the case for processing on its docket and is moving into the normal litigation schedule. That is different from the court deciding any merits yet. The defendants still have the opportunity to respond, file motions such as a motion to dismiss, and to litigate the claims before any findings are made, of course. I mean, no one's responded yet at all that I see here. No.
I'm curious. I'm curious if this will survive. I think the defense it's not really the defense, but more the respondent, because in this case, Seth would be the petitioner and the DCS and Sumner County would be the respondent. And I'm very, very curious if this will survive and what arguments, if they will use because when I Googled out, I read out what basically they're most likely what they would use as a basis for their argument for the case to be dismissed. And I'm curious if they will use that, or if Notorious Ash says that they will use qualified immunity. I'm curious about that myself. See, this was my issue with this whole thing. I felt like I think that Seth has two different goals for each of these separate lawsuits. I think for the investigation, I think that part of it, I think what he's really on is a fact-finding mission. I think he wants to know what in the actual F they have been doing. Will he get that? I am not so sure of that, because even after cases are resolved, you say you want to FOIA part of the court record, or look at like I'll give you an example, the Watts case. That case was resolved and it ended in a plea, right? There was a plea deal. However, people filed FOIA requests wanting parts of the discovery. Well, the judge, the attorney, and the defense attorney, they all went through all those documents and decided what was in the public interest, right? And they said, well, we'll let you see these, but we won't let you see those. Can somebody appeal that, yes, you can file with the court and say, well, hey, no, wait. This document is in the public's best interest, and here's why. But you would definitely want an attorney for that. But my point is that that it's very difficult. And I feel like because this is an open and ongoing investigation, I am very curious. Depositions are one thing, but actual investigative materials are a different. And I'm very, very curious how far and what, if anything, I sound like fucking Amber Heard's lawyer. What, if anything, he will be able to get, what they will be required to produce that they can't, that will go past the open and ongoing investigation. You know what I'm saying? Am I making sense? I feel like I'm buffering.
No, you're not buffering. I think that he's got a chance with negligence. I think qualified immunity is definitely going to be something that they bring up unless there's, case references that we can look at. And I think he does reference some case matters in here, but I think we'd need to read them to even understand the basis. And for those who don't give a shit about all of these lawsuits that happen all the time, it's like you can only get a speeding ticket if a cop has already given someone else a ticket for driving the exact same speed on the same road in the same car. Does that make sense? So you can't try to sue DCF as well as each of those people, the supervisor, the trainer, the this one, the that one,
and the unnamed ones,
because of their job. They're going to say, did we violate anybody's rights? What violation was already clearly established by an earlier case? And it has to be true for it to survive. So the judges can't skip straight to, was that violation already clearly established by an earlier case? They need to know, did the worker actually violate somebody's rights? And if so, what were they? Now, he does go into a lot of detail on that, but I don't know that, he can't even look at the merits of the case without answering those two questions first. He can't even, but they're also demanding a jury trial, right? So,
yeah.
Nick Perez put out a statement. Do you guys want me to read it? That's the local journalist.
Did you find it, babe? Okay, yes, please.
Yeah. Okay, he says, 6 hours ago, the father of missing Sebastian Rogers files lawsuits. This is the latest twist in the sad case of this missing teen so many have closely followed. Seth Rogers, the father of Sebastian, accuses Tennessee child welfare officials and Sumner County authorities of failing his son. Sebastian disappeared from his mother and stepfather's Hendersonville home on February 26, 2024, when he was 15. He has autism and other developmental conditions. One lawsuit accuses the Tennessee Department of Children's Services of failing to protect Sebastian despite investigating his household twice before he disappeared. The second lawsuit accuses Sumner County, the Sumner County Sheriff's Office, Eric Craddock and Brandon Carter of mishandling the investigation. Neither DCS or the sheriff's office have commented because of pending litigation. So, for context, what are the chances for success of these lawsuits? I spoke with noted Nashville constitutional attorney David Rabin. He is not involved in this case, but is aware of the details. Rabin tells me in situations like this, a government entity is not accountable. Rabin says he does not know whether the government entities did a good job or not. But he says, regardless, quote, the law does not allow for recovery for the government not doing a good enough job, unquote. Rabin says he believes the lawsuits will be summarily dismissed and will never get to trial. Sebastian remains missing. The Amber Alert is still active, and the FBI is offering $50,000 for information leading to him. Tips can be submitted to 1-800-TBI Find.
See, you'd be really surprised at the people who have this immunity. And I mean, that's what they're going to claim. I hope it doesn't get dismissed before he accomplishes some of this. I do hope.
Yeah, same.
I do think there's, at least at a state level, negligence. I don't know how far that'll go, but I do think that they were neglectful in their duties, considering Sebastian's mental status, physical status, the potential danger. You know, I do think there's something there. I really do.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. I think that this happens way too often too. We have actually this case I have pulled up right here. What's her name? Let me find it. Kalia Rose Toll. Listen to this. Youth and Families shows that state child welfare workers had visited Kalia and her children at least 18 times over a 3-year period, investigating reports of child neglect, with 4 investigations opened in that time period.
That's horrible. Jeez.
Yeah, and
that
by the time
horrible.
Her infant was deceased and her other child was starved almost to death.
Remember, I know this case. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and even her parents were one of the people who reported her to CPS, and I mean, they did nothing. So, you know,
isn't that gross that I say, I know this case. I know what you're talking about. It just it's such a messed up.
It's so screwed up that we walk around with these things in our brain. Because I have friends who literally like go do water yoga, then they all go meet for coffee, and then they like go out to lunch, and then they
and we're doing this
dinner, and I'm a fucking psychopath.
What do they talk about on those? I think we could do all of that.
They just talk about life stuff. They talk about their kids, they talk about their jobs, they talk about, you know, the other girls at yoga, I guess. I don't fucking know. One of them has a pottery studio. The other one's a water teacher down the road. We all live on the same street. And they're always inviting me. And I'm like, yeah, no. Do you want to talk about murder? No?
Right.
I'm not going.
Maybe we need our own local chapters. Maybe we need to get us.
They're like, I don't know. That's chasing.
Yeah, they can barely hear you, babe. I can hear you good because I'm wearing headphones, but the people in the chat are having a difficulty.
Well, I need to go eat anyway, so I'm hopping down. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming up.
Thanks for coming up, babe. I appreciate it.
And reading for us.
Yes.
Sure. Everybody's like, I can't hear her either. Everybody else is super loud. Unless I put my mouth on this fucking thing, it's not going to work. I'm sorry. All right, I love you. Bye.
Go get your little microphone. That thing works like a champ. Love you too. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Get the porch mic. That mic works great.
That case is one I want to get into because, oh my God, Jen, she was all over the damn internet, you know, making videos, just saying all kinds of ridiculous shit.
So good at getting all of those things. Can I actually search the tickety talks and get things? Yes, I am completely, totally, it's in my wheelhouse. I can do it. The problem is the brain that exists in here. Okay. You know, you guys all laugh at me and I make say I make great jokes and I make you guys laugh. That's the fun part of me. That's the good side. The dark side is the distraction, the easily distracted. Okay. If you put me on TikTok, I will get into a doom scroll and I'll be looking at everything that I'm not, but what I'm supposed to be there looking for, because I will get distracted. I will watch a TikTok of what I'm supposed to be looking at, what I intended to search, and they'll say something or do something that makes me remember something. And then there I am. So this is why Allie is so good at doing this is why I like you for the open cases, Allie. This is where you really, in my opinion, shine. I know you are tremendously tremendously frustrated, and I am too, with true crime and how it's going and what's been happening. I'm frustrated too, and there are many days when I just want to put this. I want to put both channels in the bucket. I'm not even lying. I can't tell you. I've thought about. Allie knows. We've talked about it. But you're so good at it, and I want, please keep going.
Thank you, Bendy.
There are people, I promise you, that watch it. They appreciate it. You are talented. You do good work,
I
honey.
love you. You're sweet,
I love
and
you.
I appreciate that. I just I mean, I just like,
it's hard.
It is, and it's not even like, of course, it takes an emotional toll on you seeing all the details of the cases, but that's expected. I think it was just not expected to see that other side of it, the like exploitation, the media, the way that it's so unfair, and it's, things aren't covered honestly in depth unless there's some sort of like way that it can be exploited. It's just so frustrating.
It's very frustrating because I just want to say this. Bless Neat Noodle's heart. She has said if there are 3 more likes, 3 more thumbs up, she will gift a membership, which is so super generous of her. And I see her in the chat. Come on, guys, trying to rally.
That's sweet.
I think what's frustrating for me personally, and I think this is what you're saying too, you let me know. The word true is literally in the beginning of it, right? The whole genre, true crime. So the truth. But what it seems is people are more interested in bullshit. These cases, for me, like these cases are horrific. The details are horrific enough. I don't feel like we need to add extra bullshit, worse things on top of it.
Think about Sebastian's case every day, and this happened with Summer too. Every day that's one of the parents said something that may have been a little off, a little concerning. There was 20,000 lives. There were panels. There were every single day. It was so much every day. And none of it was even true. Half of it was probably bullshit. Half of it was lies. None of it went anywhere. It doesn't mean a fucking thing. The only thing it accomplished was growing several channels from nothing to big, whether it was the drama or just the case in general. That is it. And spread a bunch of lies and rumors and made the divide between these parents even larger. That's it.
I think you're absolutely right. We talked about this last night. Thank you, Neat. Neat gifted a membership. Thank you, babe. That was really sweet of you. Thank you. I have memberships to gift too. Let me do that because we're in mid-month. Let me just do that really quick.
Okay.
My thing is, I'm actually glad that this went in the direction that it did. And I'm glad that I didn't end up playing this clip of maybe I kind of want to play it though.
Let's play it real quick before we go. Okay. I really want to see it.
All right. Let me gift these memberships and then I will, because he makes it very clear in this. And I only know because I listened to it like twice. So hold on, I have to change my account. So just a second.
Okay.
Give me a second. A few quick clicks.
Yeah. And
I appreciate everybody being here.
People want to hear the drama, but here's the thing. Devin and Lyric, that case happened right around the same time as the Idaho 4. They were 3 young kids, beautiful kids in sports, just very much like the kids in Idaho. Not much different at all. But for some reason, one of those cases got covered so many documentaries. The other case, the local news couldn't even thoroughly follow the freaking trial. The local news couldn't even, make sure to stream every bit of that trial from start to finish. And that really pushed me over the edge because and the only other thing, and I'm not one to throw the race thing out here, but it does make me curious, like what else is different about these young, beautiful kids who were out doing sports besides the race thing? I don't know, I don't know. But for some reason, not every case gets the attention that it should. So it's so frustrating.
You're right. People, it's heartbreaking. that I don't know. I get it. It's frustrating. You want people to like care, and it's just.
And people don't care. People don't give a fuck. I hate to say it, but it's just true. People don't care. Some do, like, and don't get me wrong. Like the people here, like there are people that care, but not like they care about the pointless, dumb things in life. The dramas and the stupid. Not like they care about that stuff. Not the amount of people.
Right.
And yeah, it just sucks.
I don't like hold on. I'm sorry, you guys. Here, I want you guys to check out. Welcome new members. I want you guys to check out Lil Red's channel. I dropped it in the chat for you guys.
Right. She's wanting us to come on, by the way.
Is she?
Are you going to stream Lindsay Clancy?
I was, yes.
You should, and that's one I'm going to be I've been following from the beginning, and I'll be covering the trial. I think you should stream it, and she wants us to come on to discuss that. I've been meaning to tell you that for a couple days.
Absolutely. Oops, wrong thing. All right, hold on. Make this big. All right. Are you guys ready? I don't know how. I'm not going to lie and say it's like a quick clip. I don't remember exactly. This is where he starts talking about CPS, and it's right in here somewhere. And the transcript is not exact, so this is the best I could do. All right, here we go.
Chris, when you went on and talked about hitting Sebastian with a belt and kind of, just chuckling about it and how the social services or child protective services came to your door and apologized to you, that got people upset. It got people.
Right. Let's clear that real quick.
Okay.
That needs to be cleared up, because what was said and what people heard are two totally different things.
I heard you say you hit him with a belt.
Okay, so let me finish, because that's the problem. When I go to make the statement, people want to interrupt and try to say, well, this and that. No. You wanted the answer. I'm giving you the answer. Now, when I answer...
Okay. For full disclosure, because you guys know that I think context is important, okay? Y'all don't remember this is from not what I wanted to do. Hold on a second. Let me scroll down so I can tell you, make it small so I can tell you exactly when this.
Never say never. No, it's this week. I think it's like Monday.
Yes,
getting ready to start.
Yes, and this is what I had. We'll talk about that. Just give me a second. So this happened on April 27th of 2024. That's when this was streamed. Okay, we are at the 2-hour 5-minute mark. Okay. Which means they've been talking on this panel for 2 hours. Chris doesn't come up onto the panel until after they're already like an hour in, I think. Yeah, it's after they've been on for an hour. The original panel was the detectives, or the private the detectives, Jesus fuck. The private investigators that were working for Chris, Chloe, and Heather. Okay. And they'd already been having a conversation about all of the things, all of the information, any statements, etc., that had come out previous to this. Now, think about the time. Sebastian went missing February 26th, 2024, right? Is that right? Is it February 26th? Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Because I know I always get it mixed up if it's February 24th, but I think
I always want to say that too. The 24th. Yeah. Let me look it up just to make sure.
Thank you. So this is April, 7th. Think about all the stuff that had come out in between. The panel, So at this point, he
25th to 26th.
25th through 26th. So he's reported missing the 26th. By this point in the live, he's already been listening to what Trisha and the two private investigators have said. Okay. Also, at this point, too, there was already like the back and forth between things that Seth was saying on panels, and then sometimes Chris and Katie would address it, or just Chris, and sometimes they wouldn't. But simultaneously, because it happens in this live, at kind of Seth is going to pop up on the panel. Okay. This is the beginning of when Seth began working with Tony Mathis. And Seth had emailed Tony's information to Katie, and they didn't, and Seth is mad because they didn't respond. And Chris is going to tell him, look, bro, I don't think this is a good idea. Okay. I got to vet this guy. It's right after this live. I'm telling you guys, if not this live itself, it might be maybe 1 or 2 days after this. But then Seth begins working with Tony, and Seth and Tony appear on a panel. And it's either, this is why I wish I had Nonsense. Nonsense would be up here and she'd be like, it was on this date at this time on this panel. I feel like it was either Smiley's panel or Pascal's panel, where that's when Tony makes the statement, we are not working with them.
Okay.
So
I remember this. I do remember that. I remember the panel. It was a very like stressful panel to watch.
Yes, it was
when they were both up.
It's very stressful. Remember, both Chris and Seth, we're meeting these people at the worst time of their life. And on top of it, the private investigators are side-eyeing the shit out of Chris Proudfoot, and they're sharing it on this panel, and he's been listening to it. So this is like, put yourself in Chris's shoes, right? You're standing outside of a door to a bedroom where 2 people are just ripping you to shreds, just talking mad cash shit. And then
that's
you've had
why
enough.
He comes up with such a tone. Yeah.
Yes. And then you come up. Imagine, I can see myself doing this. I've been at parties where this has happened, and just busting in the door and being like, yeah, did what now? Did you want to say that to my face? I'm here right now. We can address any and all concerns you may have.
What was that?
Yeah. What did you said? You'd like to do what? I'm right here, honey.
Well, okay, and don't let it go past
anymore.
you that damn web sleuth is right smack dab in the middle of it.
Girl. Okay. So
she's got me annoyed with her damn 24-hour thing, and especially with people like really digging into that and looking at some of the statements. She's just so insensitive and so yeah, it's just gross. And the victim's family members are asking you not to do that. You're like, it's the end of the world as we know it. And they're literally like, bitch, it was the end of the world for my family members. Could you please not?
Yes.
And I just,
I can't, I will never be able to understand that. You know, that is, Allie, put a pin in this conversation, because we absolutely need to have this conversation, you and I.
Yeah,
because I do think that some of the bullshittery that goes on around this place contributes to at least not 83% of the reason why we are frustrated and feeling the way we're feeling and not wanting to be live and talk, which is and unfortunately, you guys are like, where's Allie? Where's Jen? And you know, it has nothing to do with you guys. It doesn't. I want you guys to understand that. It's really frustrating to care about something and to put your heart into it, to take pride in what you put out, because you want to get it right. You want to make sure that if that victim was standing right next to you, hearing you report it, that they would be nodding their head and saying, yeah, you got it right. Yeah, you got it right. Do you know what I mean? And then for people to be like,
oh yeah, it's so frustrating.
It's frustrating.
It really is. And you're so right about that, you know, and you, for the, not just, yeah, that's right, but yeah, tell my story, tell it correctly. The details, like, they matter.
Right. I can't express this to you guys enough. My philosophy has been for a very long time, and I'm not going to lie and say, oh, it's always like this. Yeah, when I came to YouTube, but you'll have to know that for years I hung out on, it's not this anymore. It used to be Easy Board. It's Tapatalk now. And I learned a lot from debating the West Memphis 3 case. And when the family members started coming onto the various discussion boards that were around back then, they're still around, you know, and or they gave an interview about something that was said online. Do you know what I mean? Then it like you can connect the dots, and you're like, what the fuck am I doing? So I had already
even cases you don't think, like I got videos that are, I'll randomly get comments on old videos that maybe have like under 1,000 views on them, shorts with very little views. And I'll get a comment that's like, hey, that was my cousin. That was my sister. That's my, it happens all the time. It really does. So,
it's just, so let's play this, and I'm going to put the closed captions on too. And, here, let me move it up here because, I mean, what they're doing on the screen is not that important. Most of them have their cameras off. And then I want you guys to tell me how you guys take what he says in this clip. All right, here we go.
Answered that question. I told people Sebastian got a spanking. He got one lick on his butt outside of his clothes. If somebody can tell me how that's abuse to a child, explain to me.
Can you confirm when that happened?
I don't. That was years ago.
I got spanked by a belt and wooden spoon by my mom for years.
So, but let's not sidetrack. Let's stay on board. Okay. So the question about the CPS thing that came up to play that everybody wants to tie to this belt is not what it was.
Okay.
Well, I think it was confusing because when you initially talked about it, you referred to him as an embarrassed 15-year-old. So
yes, you did.
Like it was years ago.
We thought it was like right recently.
Well, instead of asking more clarification,
let's clear it up.
So, as it stands, Sebastian went to school one day. He made a statement to a teacher. The teacher reports it to CPS. CPS comes to the house. That case has nothing to do with Sebastian getting spanked. That had everything to do with Sebastian didn't like being in trouble. So he thought by reporting it to a teacher, they were going to come to the house and they're going to take me out of the house and do this and do that. That is what the CPS case was about. And yes, I laughed at it because when I explained to Sebastian, very detailed, what happened, he thought it was a joke. When the CPS lady shows up and looks at him and says, Sebastian, you can't false report. That will get people in trouble and you can get in trouble. And then she explained to him what happens.
What did he say you did to him?
Can I ask you, what does that have to do with the price of eggs in China when it comes to the disappearance of Sebastian?
Because I'll tell you why. Because you're wondering why people are coming at you. And it's because he was in your home last. That was the last place he was seen.
Yes,
so
he was.
When we hear these things, it's like, okay, let's just clear it up and see what happens. Because I'll tell you why. Because people, I'm not.
Okay. Part of this I agree with, part of this I don't. When a child goes missing, and it's different, the younger the child is, the smaller the child's circle is. The older the child is, it stands to reason, the bigger their circle is. So Sebastian is in that age group where they would have a big circle, but they always start at the middle of the circle. Those that are the closest to the missing person, or in this case, we'll just use missing person, right? Missing person, and they work outward, okay, from there. So in that aspect, she's right. Yes, the
Yeah.
investigation would start where
At
the
home.
person went home last. The problem is that we, and by we, I mean the fucking general public, okay? We are not privy to the details of that investigation. We are getting bits and pieces, not the complete picture. So think of a case as 1,000 puzzle piece, okay? We're getting what we have in this case. I'm just going to just specific to this case of out of those 1,000 pieces, we have 72 pieces. Now you cannot even start to figure out what the hell you're looking at when you have 72 out of 1,000 pieces. There are so many really important pieces that we're missing.
I get really frustrated by this argument because to me, it's like, obviously, if the last place they were seen was at home, that is something to consider, note, and
Yes.
base your investigation off of. However, it doesn't mean, like, especially like you said, at his age, it doesn't mean for a fact, because people will try to use that argument. The last person with him was Katie. You don't know, number one, like Jen said, but also that doesn't mean for a solid fact 100%, that something else didn't happen, that he didn't leave, which seems much more likely at this stage.
Me too. I agree.
But
the last known person is Katie. There's no forced entry to that home. There's when Katie woke up, she reported that that all of the doors that could be exits that you could exit the home from were locked. All of the windows were locked. Okay.
They searched it a dozen times.
Yes, they did. And so something happened.
But I got a question for you. So
Little Red says we don't know that is true. What don't we know that is true? What specifically?
I think she's saying we don't know that's true. We just don't know for sure.
We don't
but
know
let me
that
ask
is
you
true.
something.
Okay.
This
Sorry,
seems
Little
like
Red. Sorry.
This seems like Chris thought at the time that Sebastian is who reported him to CPS, because he says, I scolded him. We can't make false reports. You'll get in trouble for that. But now we know that it wasn't Sebastian.
No, and that's my thing. That report is the intake is the language is interesting. That Proudfoot made comments that implies that somebody heard Chris Proudfoot talk about what happened.
Not Sebastian.
So if it were Sebastian would have said, my dad did A, B, and C, or my stepdad, Mr. Chris did A, B, and C. That's how that intake would,
exactly.
It's
he reported to a teacher, to this person, to whoever, to CPS directly. It would say that. It wouldn't say he was overheard saying, but he must have thought, which, CPS don't tell you who reports. You know what I mean? They don't tell you. So maybe he just, I don't know. That's really interesting though.
We don't, that's the thing. This is what concerned me about this lawsuit coming out. People were going to read that and immediately go to clutching the pearls. And oh my God, we heard, you and I went over the reaction last night. Okay. Yeah. The thing is, and I want you guys to keep this in mind and I can't remember who came in and asked right now, but there was a comment that said, weren't there 5 CPS reports in Tennessee?
Yes.
And I recall that being the accusation. Okay. But if there were 5 reports, if there were 5 DCS reports, don't you think there would be 5 DCS reports included in the lawsuit? Because if it is a systematic failure on DCS's part, which is what the lawsuit is asserting, that's the purpose and claim of the lawsuit, don't you think there'd be 5 reports in there?
Yep,
there aren't. How
absolutely.
many reports are in there? 2.
I would think 90% of me thinks if there was any like that if there was anything else. Now, of course, there's always a chance, but any attorney worth anything would outline, obviously, because like you said,
Well,
that
this exactly. Here's the thing. This is a lawsuit. A civil lawsuit is very different than an affidavit of arrest. Okay, where basically they're only putting in the details necessary. They just put enough in that affidavit to secure an arrest warrant. That's it. They don't. It's not under those circumstances. The totality of the evidence isn't required. That's not how our system is set up.
Right.
But
Yep.
in civil litigation, because especially in this type of civil litigation, where we
Yes.
talked about the type of immunity that they have, let me refresh my recollection. Qualified immunity, because it has to get past that burden. Okay.
Yeah.
And it has to rise above that. If there were 5 CPS reports, 5 CPS reports would be included. You wouldn't.
Yep.
This isn't like a poker game where you're, keeping we're going to bring it's not a criminal case where they save their most
True.
damning
For
evidence
trial.
for trial.
Yeah.
Because,
That's such a good point, and they would want this to be accepted by the judge. So including all of those would only help their case if there were other ones. So I think, yeah, it's a pretty safe assumption that there are no other. Of course, it's an assumption. So,
now,
but yeah,
it
agree
is
with you.
possible. I can argue. This is why my husband gets really frustrated with me. Now, let me argue the other side of this. When the claim about 5 CPS reports was made, that's just what the claim was, right? 5 CPS reports. But if you think about it, there's the claim, right? The allegation, that's one report. And we know that there are 2 of those. But then there are other reports that go along with those, like the administrative closing, which is it possible that when that person's made the claim of 5 reports, they're not lying. They're not listen to just let me finish. They're not lying, but they are not being fully truthful because 5 sounds, it's not a lie, but it does certainly sound worse than 2.
Yeah. No, I see your point for sure. And I think that's possible. I think it's more likely, though, that they were misinformed or something like that. But I definitely could see your point there.
I listen, if
I
you're
like devil's advocate arguments.
The person that made the claim of 5 CPS reports is the person who received the CPS reports through the attorney.
Well, remember, yeah.
So,
and all of the creators and I don't know the exact. I don't even want to say what they exactly said because I don't remember. But it would be quite interesting to go back and look.
For me personally, I
I know
don't.
Tony was a big part of that.
Gonna go with the source, and the source of the information for the number of reports that were received through the request was 5. And that person was Seth Rogers. Seth Rogers said that there were 5 CPS reports.
Yeah, but do you remember where he said it? That's what I was trying to think. Was it him directly who said it, or was it Tony?
He said it on Pascal's.
Okay. Because I would want to listen to that.
You know what? You know what, Allie? There is a chance that you might be right. Because the way I remember it, it might have come. The number 5. I don't
know.
It's possible the number 5 came out of Tony's mouth with Seth co-signing it.
I cannot remember, so I'm not saying that. I'm just saying in my mind that's a possibility. I would like to see and hear where exactly that came out, because I just definitely remember it being reported by people everywhere, and then people being like, hold the hell up, stop, you don't know that to be, you know what I mean? I just remember the back and forth from it.
I remember a lot of it had to do with basically that the reason that many people questioned it is because at that point, by the time that happened, people really felt that Seth had a credibility issue and that he couldn't be believed. And that because he was not allowed to show those reports, right? It could not be proven.
See, and I remember the talk about like not being allowed, like how but I swear I think that was Tony that I'm recalling. That's why I don't know. I need to go back and
can you do you have your phone? Can you make a note? You know how
Yeah.
we do on our phones? Will you,
Yes.
because I think we should follow up on this, Allie. I think that maybe
Okay.
we should. I mean, I'm interested in this. I'd like to
Me
see.
too. Yes.
And you know,
you should have a live in a couple days, or and we spend a couple days trying to find
yes,
it and come back
yes,
together and review.
yeah.
I'm gonna send you a text right now. So, but Bendy, I have to get up early.
I know.
I'm driving to the
I
beach
know.
tomorrow.
It's 11 o'clock. I'm about to end it. But do you hear? But you heard what he said. He said that that incident is not what caused CPS. It wasn't the belt. He cleared it up, and I wasn't paying attention to it.
Yeah,
and she said, and Webslew said, "Can I ask then what was the issue that caused CPS to come to the house?" And Chris said, "What does that have to do with the price of eggs in China?"
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I think this requires a follow-up, gathering some clips and kind of revisiting some stuff. But
thank you for coming up, babe. And thank you, Melissa, for being up here, babe. I appreciate it. If you're still listening, I hope you are.
So, even though like we live right at the water, the beach we're going to specifically is out on like an island, and it's a little bit of a drive. It's only like an hour and a half.
Went to? The one that you guys always, it's beautiful there. You guys, it's so beautiful.
I love it so much, but we're not going to be there long. We'll just go to do some work on the house a little bit and stuff. But anyway, I'll be excited to be there. So, but I got to get up at like 7 and leave by like 9. And I am not a morning person. Like I literally am now even dreading school starting. I'm thinking almost daily, oh my God, I'm going to be getting up soon, like in a month, really early.
The Nuggie is starting kindergarten. Can you even believe it?
No, I can't. But I'm really freaking excited for her. So I know it's sad, but also it's really exciting because she's so mature and just like grown.
Just the stuff she said. You know what? I got to tell you this, and then we're going to let you guys go. It's for real, because Allie's got to get up early. The other day she was watching SpongeBob? Yes. And something happened and she wanted to rewind it. You know what she said? She grabbed the remote and she said, "Wait a minute, back the milk truck up." What did he say? And I was like, yes.
She's got all your little sayings and
all
stuff.
Of them. All of
she's
them.
the real mini Bendy, okay?
She is.
She's the real one. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was a good conversation.
It was. And I am glad that Chasing got an opportunity to come up.
Me too, especially because she had read those so thoroughly. And I think it was interesting with Melissa having not read them, you know what I mean, to play a little bit of that devil's advocate pushback. But I don't know. I guess we'll see. We'll be following.
I'm still not fully prepared to say that that the Title 4E came from the contact in 2022. I'm not sure that that's what that says, or that's what that implies. We'll find out though.
The fact that he was approved to be, I
think that I think that what they were doing, honestly, you guys, is I think they were working with CPS. Because if you see there, the thing is closed. Part of the Title IV requires a plan, a safety plan. There was no safety plan in place. I think that this was the
How do we
beginning
know?
because there would have been they closed the cases.
I know, but like, don't they have a safety plan? Like, I don't know, actually. I think that I thought like maybe I'm wrong, but like anytime they open a CPS case, they do a safety plan. Oh, but you mean it could have been in place, but it just wasn't at the time.
What I'm
'Cause it was
thinking
closed,
is,
or there was never one.
I don't think there was one. What that is about, and we'll find out. I think they were trying to get him. I think they were all trying to work on. I think they all recognized
Like a
that something
placement
was
for him?
up. Yes, not foster
Yeah.
care.
Right. No, I know, like the
But
camps and stuff they were talking
right,
about.
but they're very, very, very expensive. And I know that there are people that think that Seth and Katie have the kind of money that would make Sumner County Sheriff's Department in on a conspiracy that they would help them to
Oh,
cover
please,
up.
yeah.
They
No.
don't have that. If they were struggling to figure out where to place Sebastian for like a behavioral place that they were talking about, and that because of money, they don't have the kind of money required to include the police in a murder conspiracy. They just don't.
See, I don't know. I have a feeling that might be two separate things, though. The trying to get him into a camp, only because Seth was part of that, and they were like emails and stuff exchanged back and forth discussing
Okay.
that.
This was one of the things I wanted to discuss that we didn't get into. After they discuss the May 2023 thing, what the complaint, the allegation. Okay.
Mhm.
The next, and it talks about them talking to Seth talking to Katie, talking to Chris, talking to Sebastian. In the next paragraph, when the attorney is saying they should have talked to Seth, because if they had, Seth would have told him A, B, C, D, and E.
So see, because remember there was emails and stuff exchanged between Seth and Katie about like
Right,
the
but
camp.
this was stuff.
Yeah, so it was two separate things then.
No,
right?
listen. No, what I'm saying is, what Seth was not told about the May 2023 CPS investigation. They never contacted him. And
Right.
what the attorney's saying is, if they had contacted him to ask what his observations were about Chris Proudfoot, what Sebastian had reported to him, what he says, hold on, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
exactly.
but that's my point. I get what you're saying. I agree, but my point was that like then it couldn't be the camp thing that funding was for, because Seth was part of that, unless Chris and Katie were already considering doing that before they talked to Seth about it. You know what I mean?
Right, but what I'm saying is, if Seth, hold on a minute. Hold on. Let me find this again. Hold on.
Treatment can be expensive. I'm not comfortable assuming that's what that was, though. I'd rather.
That's what I'm saying. I think I'm still not convinced, or it hasn't been. I'm not convinced that IEP or that Title IV came from the 2022 or the 2023. It sounds like it happened later, and I'm not exactly sure what that was about. That's what I'm trying to say. But this is the part I wanted to read to you. Just really quick. Hold on. Because this is what Seth says he would have said. Okay. Had DCS fulfilled the most basic obligation, it would have learned critical information that was never captured in the case file. Rogers would have told DCS investigators that Sebastian had expressed to him on multiple occasions that he was more comfortable with Rogers than Proudfoot, and that Sebastian was afraid of Proudfoot because he believed Proudfoot would hurt him if he disclosed what's happening. Well, that was already in the report. Rogers would have informed DCS that Proudfoot had ridiculed Sebastian about the prior essay, compounding Sebastian's existing trauma and making Sebastian even less likely to disclose abuse to any adult he believed would report back to the Proudfoot household. Rogers would further have told DCS that Katie had spoken to him on multiple occasions in terms that evidenced her frustration and hostility. Those are very specific terms towards Sebastian, telling Rogers repeatedly how fed up she was with Sebastian for his ongoing incidents of soiling and wetting himself, the very same bathroom accidents that Sebastian's therapist had documented as a known consequence of the sexual trauma. Rogers would have advised DCS that Sebastian's mental state had been deteriorating. If he and that Sebastian himself appeared increasingly distressed in the period leading up to the investigation. Bottom line is, if he knew all of these things, if he had these concerns himself, why didn't he report it? Why didn't Seth report it to CPS?
I don't know. That's a good question, but I think that that's, always after the fact.
And again, Seth is reporting, right, that Chris basically degraded and made fun of, how did he put it? How did he put it? Where's it at? God damn it. Ridiculed Sebastian. How would Seth know that Chris Proudfoot ridiculed Sebastian about that essay? It would have had to have come from Sebastian himself, right? Mm-hmm. If it came from Sebastian himself, then that would mean that Sebastian knew that Chris was aware of that essay, right?
Yeah.
But in those documents, it's Sebastian is saying he doesn't know and he's afraid to tell Chris.
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. Mm-hmm. But who did he say that to? When that comment about he's afraid that no adults knew besides his mom, who was that to?
To a school professional is how they termed it.
I mean, maybe, I don't know. I could see though.
He said he's never told. That's what he said. Not that, but then later, in more of that, as that section goes on, when the social worker interviewed Sebastian, he said that Chris did not know about that, and that if he did know, he would, that he would. Well, Kim, Shamina, what he's saying, Shamina says, sorry, Allie, say it, babe. Sorry, I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead. It's okay. And I'll read her.
Shamina says, is he finding any of this out after the fact? Well, yeah, the whole lawsuit is the allegation that when CPS was investigating this allegation of physical abuse perpetrated on Sebastian by Chris Proudfoot, that's the allegation, that Seth was not called, that CPS never informed him that it happened and that they were investigating. They never asked him what he knew about the situation, what he had witnessed, his observations, concerns, anything. Okay. But he's saying in this lawsuit, if they had contacted him, this is what he would have told them, which means the way that he is explaining it through his attorney is that he had his own goddamn concerns, but he never called anybody either. That's where it's conflicting.
Okay. I was just going to say, Kim, that's what I mean by camp, like a behavior, like not a fun summer camp. I'm talking about the camps for behavior, and they are ruthless. Remember last year, there were like a couple deaths at these camps.
The boys camps is what they call it.
Yeah. And some of them are outdoor, like survival. They're making you sleep in hammocks with covers over them. like, but they're still for behavior, and they're pretty ruthless. They're not a
can
nice
be.
place to go. Yeah, some of
They
them are
can
not
be.
nice places to go. But okay,
Now
I
you really,
think that we need to have a part
and
2.
we definitely let's
Because there's a lot of things to address still, and also, like, I think there's a lot of things we can't really even make assumptions about, because I was just sitting here thinking, like, some of the things that I am naturally assuming, I have seen so many times with things like this where I'm dead wrong. Like, we really just don't know without more information. We need to go back and look at some of those claims from, like, the Seth and Tony interviews. There's a lot, like, to it, so I don't know. But yeah, I think we need a part 2, Bendy. Uh-oh, what happened?
Self.
Oh no, we
No,
couldn't
I
hear
think
you.
no, I just muted myself for a second. I grabbed the microphone to steady it, and the mute button is on the back.
Oh, okay.
Like a big dummy.
But yeah, let's do a part 2 in a few days. Like, I'll try to gather some stuff too and see if there's anything that I can find, and we can get some clarity on some stuff.
Absolutely.
If we can find anything about those reports that might have been mentioned.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know exactly where to go. I know. We'll work on it, and we'll come back with a part 2. You go have fun this weekend and enjoy the beach. Lucky duck.
Thank you for having me. I'm going to jump down, but I love you, and
I love you too.
Appreciate the stimulating conversation.
It was.
I need it.
Me too. It was stimulating and scintillating. I loved it. We had a great conversation. We really did. It makes me think. It made me think.
Me too. Yeah, for sure. And that's what I'm saying. I was literally sitting here thinking, like, even when it's like a 90% chance, like an assumption that I've made about other cases in the past, like, I can be dead wrong. There's wrenches thrown in all the time, random shit. Like, I don't know. It's just, I can't wait to learn more. But yeah, thank you for having me. And I'm going to jump down, and we'll talk soon. Okay.
Sounds
all right.
good.
Bye, you guys.
Bye. Whew. All right, you guys. I would like to say thank you to everybody for being here. I appreciate it so much. Thanks for being cool in the chat. Thank you for participating and being here and asking good questions and putting in, good thoughts, like, things that we didn't take into consideration, reminding us of details that, came out that we have forgotten about. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for being here. Thank you so much. I'm going to end it. I'm about to run out of a voice. Allie and I will be back, and I don't care what we have to do. I'll get Melissa back too. And we're going to have a part 2. All right. We have much more to discuss. You guys have a great rest of your night, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.